Chapter 2091. Qin Tianlao smiled smugly. He had hit the nail on the head. This time, Long Yen would never believe Yun Luofeng and his group. At this moment, Yun Luofeng had already given Yun Xiao a meaningful look. Yun Xiao nodded gently at her, and the aura around her body gradually rose. I won't go back with you. If it weren't for Miss Yun and the rest, I would have died long ago. But not only are you not grateful to them, you even attacked Little Worm. Someone like you, who can't differentiate between right and wrong, has no right to educate me. Long Luo pushed Long Yen away in a fit of pique and walked back to Yun Luofeng's side. Her large eyes were still burning with anger and her body was trembling with anger. Long Yan's voice deepened. What happened? Life-saving grace? Could eldest miss have met with danger? Long Luo looked angrily at the humans present. Whenever she thought of how they had framed Little Worm, she could not help but feel anger rise in her heart. She had just appeared. What if she wasn't here? Would the ancestral dragon clan hunt down Yun Luofeng and his group because of this misunderstanding? You want to know why? All right, I can tell you. I really didn't know who she was. I saved an ingrate, but she captured me and forced me to spit out my blood essence. These injuries on my body are also caused by her. Long Luo lifted her sleeves, revealing the scars on her body. These injuries were actually almost healed. Otherwise, she would not have been able to transform into a human form. But even so, Long Yen knew how many injuries Long Luo had suffered these past few days. His eyes suddenly narrowed as anger surged out, causing the entire sky to seem as if it was on fire. Luckily, I escaped when no one was paying attention, but those people caught up very quickly. If they hadn't saved me, perhaps I would already be dead. Long Luo still had some lingering fear from what had happened that day. She bit her lip tightly and her small body trembled in the breeze. At this moment, a hand landed on her shoulder as if silently comforting her. She turned back and flashed a bright smile at the little boy behind her. This flowery smile dazzled Little Worm's eyes and actually caused him to be unable to return to his senses. Long Yen, who had initially been aggressive, immediately became somewhat embarrassed when he heard Long Luo's words. His voice was no longer as arrogant as before. If that's the case, it's just a misunderstanding? Fortunately, Patriarch Qin told me about you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to find you. Speaking of this, Long Yen felt somewhat fortunate. His heart was filled with gratitude towards Qin Tian. Unexpectedly, Long Luo's little face was filled with even more disdain when she saw his expression. Grandfather Long Yen, you've been sold and you still want to help them count the money? I've never seen him before. When did he see me? Qin Tianlao's expression changed. He laughed awkwardly and said, Lady Long, you didn't see me, but I clearly saw you staying with this dragon. It's just that you don't remember me. Oh, tell me, why didn't you recognize me just now? Didn't I explain it already? You were too far away from me just now, so you didn't see it for a moment. Qin Tianlao endured the killing intent in his heart and smiled slightly. Long Luo tilted her head. Then can you tell me what I looked like when you saw me? What does it look like? How would he know? Although he thought so in his heart, Qin Tian would never show it. Chapter 2092. Young Lady Long, you must be joking. How you are now is how you were back then. Qin Tianlao smiled and defended himself. However, Long Luo could not help but laugh the moment his words rang out. Grandpa Long Yen, don't tell me that you don't know that it's impossible for our dragon clan to take human form after we're injured? I've been recuperating ever since I met Miss Yun and the others. It's only just now that I was able to take human form. Little Lolita raised her chin high and looked at Qin Tianlao with disdain. Long Yan's body flashed and turned into an old man standing in front of little Lolita. He frowned and stared at Qin Tianlao coldly. I know that this Miss Mu Qingfei is the woman your son likes, and your Qin family has put her under house arrest. However, Miss Yun's disciple is her daughter, so Miss Yun came to find her. In order to deal with Miss Yun, you want to use the ancestral dragon clan. Am I right? Little Lolita smiled innocently. Her words were like pearls, making Qin Tianlao's face turn paler. Elder Long Yen, your young lady of the dragon clan has gone too far. She clearly had an affair with that dragon. In order to protect him, she splashed dirty water on me. Qin Tianlao's eyes flickered as he reprimanded. How dare you? Bang! Long Yen bellowed and punched Qin Tianlao, forcing him to take a few steps back. My young lady never lies. Qin Tianlao, I didn't expect you to use me like this. After saying that, Long Yan's furious eyes swept across the others. The murderous intent in his eyes made everyone tremble in fear. Even if they were all divine emperors, however, they did not have the ability to fight against the second-ranked expert of the ancestral dragon clan. Elder Long Yen, this matter has nothing to do with us. It's all Qin Tianlao's idea. They told me that an ancestral dragon had appeared. If we capture it, we can force it to spit out blood essence. By then, we can increase the strength of all the major forces. We were also fooled by him. Elder Long Yen, let us go. Look for that bastard Qin Tianlao if there's any problem. Everyone chimed in one after another, immediately selling Qin Tianlao out. Long Yen ignored them and turned his gaze towards Little Worm and the others instead. I'm very sorry for what happened earlier. Thank you for saving my eldest lady. The ancestral dragon clan will definitely repay your life-saving grace. The power of the ancestral dragon clan was one of the best in the continent. Therefore, Long Yen concluded that this group of people would absolutely not make things difficult for him. You injured Little Worm. Do you think an apology will solve the problem? Under Long Yan's arrogant gaze, Yun Luofeng raised her lips slightly. Her fingers gently stroked her chin as a dangerous glint flashed in her narrowed eyes. Then I'll beat you up and then apologize. I wonder if that's all right? Long Yan's expression changed. Little girl, where it is possible to forgive people, one should forgive them. This matter is indeed my fault, so I won't argue with you. Oh? The smile on Yun Luofeng's lips deepened. As someone on the wrong side, what qualifications do you have to argue with us? Long Luo bit her lip and glared at Long Yen. She was on Yun Luofeng's side, so she was very angry with Long Yan's words. You! Long Yen took a deep breath and asked through gritted teeth. Then what do you want? Chapter 2093. I have always been a vengeful person. Yun Luofeng glanced at Long Yen coldly, his face expressionless. Let him bully the little worm the same way you bullied him. You... Long Yan's heart was filled with anger. He pointed at Yun Luofeng angrily, his eyes filled with anger. If this group of people had not saved Long Luo, he would not have been so courteous. Whoosh! Yun Xiao suddenly moved. His movements were as fast as a gust of wind. Before Long Yen could react, he was already behind him and slammed his palm down. Long Yen turned pale with fright and quickly turned around to block the man's attack. However, just as their attacks collided, he felt his whole body go numb. He took a few steps back and his expression changed from the initial astonishment to a cold one. The next time you point your finger at my woman, I will make sure you have no fingers left. Yun Zhao's voice was very cold and filled with murderous intent. At that moment, Long Yen was so shocked that he could not extricate himself. If he was not wrong, this man had just become a divine lord not too long ago. Why did his heart tremble under his aura? Fear. Yes. An emotion called fear gradually spread in Long Yan's heart. Yun Luofeng calmly instructed. In an instant, Yun Yi's sturdy and mighty body fell from the sky and hit the ground hard. The moment they saw Yun Yi appear, the divine lords among the humans changed their expressions. Some even shouted at Qin Tianlao angrily. Didn't you say that there were only 2 divine lords among them? What's going on now? Can you give us an explanation? Qin Tianlao's face was pale and his body was about to collapse. He used all his strength to support himself against the tree behind him and barely managed to stabilize himself. In terms of numbers, you think you can beat the Dragon Clan? Long Yen was so angry that his face was ashen. He roared, Men! Capture all these people who dare to humiliate me. Grandpa Long Yen. Long Luo's face was filled with anxiety. She looked at the huge group of dragons in the sky and gritted her teeth. I'm here. Let's see who dares to attack. Long Luo was the eldest young lady of the dragon clan after all, so the restless dragons were stunned when they heard her words. They stopped in the air as if they were thinking about something. Hee hee. Long Yen sneered. Don't forget, before the clan leader let us out, he instructed you to listen to my orders and everything. He then looked at Long Luo and continued, Eldest lady, don't worry, I'm just teaching them a lesson. They're your saviors after all. I won't kill them. Roar. A thunderous roar shook the entire sky. Long Yan's old face was cold. What are you waiting for? Capture this group of people for me. In that instant, the dragons all moved. The pressure they exuded was immense, as though there were countless mountains piled up in the void. The pressure made it difficult for people to breathe. All of a sudden, a storm was brewing. Yun Luofeng stood under the strong wind with her white clothes fluttering in the wind. She was as beautiful as a painting. Her dark eyes were calm and emotionless. The giant dragon clan does have a lot of experts, but you're the only Sir God among the dozens of dragons here. Yun Luofeng smirked. If we're comparing ultimate gods, I'd like to see who's better than me. Boom. Chapter 2094. As soon as Yun Luofeng finished her sentence, a powerful aura rose from her body. At the same time, the spirit beasts in the divine grimoire space and the people from the Steel Flame Legion in the illusory formation all appeared. Fire, Little Mo, Cha-Cha, Xiao-Shu, and Bai Xiao, who could leave the Tree of Life for a short period of time. Those spirit beasts were comparable to the ancestral dragon's aura. Even some of the people from the Steel Flame Legion had reached the ultimate god realm. Long Yan's expression became even uglier the moment the huge team appeared. He clenched his fists tightly with an obscure light in his eyes. As a member of the Dragon Clan, Long Yan was very arrogant. Similarly, he would not fight a battle he was not confident in. In particular, he could feel that Yun Zhao's aura was not inferior to his. Little worm, how did he treat you just now? You can return it now. Yun Luofeng took 2 steps forward as a powerful aura burst out. His white robes fluttered in the wind. If anyone tries to stop you, kill without mercy. She did not care who the other party was or where he came from. She only knew that if he hurt her, she would pay him back. Long Luo did not say anything. Although she was from the ancestral dragon clan, she did not think that Yun Luofeng was wrong. All of this was the result of Long Yan's stupidity. Therefore, no matter what Yun Luofeng wanted to do to him, he should bear it. Eldest Miss. Long Yan's expression was ugly as he turned to Long Luo as if he wanted her to stand up and say something. Long Luo turned her head and deliberately did not look at Long Yan's eyes, but she snorted coldly in her heart. Long Yan was too arrogant. He was so lawless just because he was the second strongest person in the Dragon Clan. It would be good to teach him a lesson this time. Miss. Long Yan's gaze fell on Yun Luofeng again with a threatening light in his narrowed eyes. Let people off when possible. I, Long Yan, am the second strongest person in the ancestral dragon clan. Few people can defeat me even in the divine lord realm. If you really want to fight me, I won't let you off even if I die. The dignity of the dragon clan could not be violated. He did not want to retreat even if he was not confident in this battle. Why didn't you think of this when you were dealing with the little worm? Yun Luofeng closed in on Long Yan once more. Now that this has happened to you, you're saying that one should forgive where possible? How could there be such a good thing in this world? Long Yan's eyes flashed. When he saw that Yun Luofeng was getting closer and closer to him, his arm suddenly turned into a dragon claw and swiped at Yun Luofeng. Unfortunately, before he could reach Yun Luofeng, a black figure had already landed in front of him. A fist, as hard as a rock, landed heavily on Long Yan's chest with a bang. Long Yan was instantly forced back a few steps, his face so dark that it looked like a storm was brewing. The ancestral dragons also moved at this moment. Their huge bodies swung towards the people on the ground. Qin Tianlao and the rest were affected as well. They were flung away by the tails of the ancestral dragons and fell to the ground in a sorry state. At this moment, the wind and clouds changed and thunder rumbled. The dragon's roar resounded throughout the sky, causing the residents of Qin City to hide themselves. They were afraid that this battle would affect them. Chapter 2095. A battle was about to break out. Just as the enormous dragon charged towards Yun Luofeng's group, a low and raspy voice gradually rang out in the air. It was like a heavy hammer, causing Long Yan's heart to feel as if it had been hammered, causing him to nearly vomit a mouthful of blood. The ancestral dragon clan is really daring. How dare they kill humans in my territory? Do they have any respect for me? As soon as he finished speaking, an elderly figure appeared in the sky. The old man stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He looked indifferent, sage-like, and righteous. Qin Tianlao was elated when he saw the old man. However, he immediately swallowed his words when he saw the old man's eyes. "You're a ruler?" Long Yan's face changed when he saw the old man, and fear flashed in his eyes. In this world, there was a type of person known as a ruler. A ruler was the ruler of the wind and cloud continent, the first person below the true god level. As they already had 1 foot in the true god level, their power was not something a Sir God could compare to. Just like the clan leader of the ancestral dragon clan, he was also a ruler. However, he was alone and naturally could not fight against these humans. Otherwise, he would not have been forced to hide in the ancestral sea and could not step out of it for the rest of his life. If it was not for the sake of finding the eldest lady, they would not have left the ancestral sea. It seems like the ancestral dragon clan has forgotten the agreement. How dare they invade our territory? This is unforgivable. Boom! The old man merely raised his hand, and Long Yan's body flew out in an instant, as if he had been pushed by something. He fell to the ground pathetically and looked at the old man in front of him with an ugly expression. "Miss." The old man turned to look at Yun Luofeng and said with a smile, "As a human you are, of course, under the protection of humans, so you don't have to be afraid. These people from the ancestral dragon clan have no way of fighting back against me." The old man's words were polite and friendly. For some reason, Yun Luofeng's heart surged with murderous intent when she faced the old man in front of her. Even she did not understand where this murderous intent came from. "Master?" Little Mo muttered to himself for a moment before replying, "Have you forgotten that you once obtained Zhu Qian's inheritance?" The ruler of the wind cloud continent was the person who had once surrounded Zhu Qian. A cold light flashed in Yun Luofeng's eyes. She grabbed Yun Zhao's hand tightly and restrained the murderous intent in her heart. "Then shouldn't I thank you?" Her lips curled into a smile. Her voice was soft and ethereal as it slowly rang out. "There is no need to thank me." The old man did not hear the sarcasm in Yun Luofeng's voice at all. He smiled and said, "It's just that I think highly of your talent. I wonder if you would be willing to be a guest at my house?" In that instant, all the humans present looked at Yun Luofeng with envious eyes. They didn't know what kind of dog's hit luck this woman had, to be able to obtain the ruler's favor. If the ruler had taken a liking to them, then their futures would be limitless. "If I were to go with you, would I still be able to return?" Yun Luofeng sneered and retorted rudely. Yun Xiao did not say anything as he silently protected Yun Luofeng from the side. His cold eyes held a hint of vigilance as he stared at the old man. This old man was too powerful and was not on the same level as Long Yan. At the same time, Yun Xiao felt a sense of danger. Chapter 2096. The old man's eyes narrowed slightly and an obscure light flashed through them. Then, he smiled and said, "Miss, what do you mean by that? I only thought that you were talented and wanted to groom you. I didn't think that your vigilance would be so strong that you actually thought that I would hurt you." In a few steps, he walked down from the sky and stood in front of Yun Luofeng, facing the wind. "I think that this lady is right. This time, you're just setting up a trap." Suddenly, a faint voice was heard. In that instant, everyone couldn't help but look over. It was an extremely handsome man. He was as beautiful as an immortal who had walked out of a painting. His entire body shone with light. The man held a flute in his hand. With light and slow steps, he gradually walked from a short distance to everyone's eyes. When Yun Luofeng saw the man, an inexplicable expression appeared on her face. Moreover, her eyes never left the man's body. Yun Xiao hugged Yun Luofeng's waist in jealousy. "You can just look at me. This man looks so weak, there's nothing good to look at." His voice carried a strong sense of jealousy. Yun Luofeng retracted her gaze. I just feel that he looks like someone I know. Yun Xiao was a little confused. Someone familiar? What kind of acquaintance does Feng have that he hasn't seen before? Zhu Qian. As if sensing Yun Zhao's confusion, Yun Luofeng's thin lips parted slightly and he spat out this name. Zhu Qian. He never thought that they would meet again under such circumstances. You are. The old man frowned slightly. It was obvious that he couldn't tell who this man was. Actually, I don't know who I am either. The man smiled. His smile was very gentle, but it carried a feeling of keeping people at a distance. Besides this identity, I should have another identity. I've come here today because of this feeling. Can you tell me who I am? The old man's eyes darkened, but his expression did not change. I don't care who you are. Why did you frame me just now? Frame me? The man flashed an immortal smile, looking as if he didn't belong to this world. Whether or not I'm framing you, I'm afraid you know in your heart. I also know that we're enemies. You? Who exactly are you? For some reason, the old man felt a sense of familiarity when he looked at this man. However, when he thought of that person, he suppressed this feeling. Impossible. He couldn't be that person. That person was like a high and mighty king. Even all living beings in the world were trampled under his feet. How could the man in front of her be him? I've said it before. I don't know who I am. I just often hear a voice in my head. The man's calm eyes landed on the old man. That voice called me Zhu Qian. Do you know who Zhu Qian is? Zhu Qian? Boom! The old man's head exploded, and a look of terror appeared in his eyes. Zhu Qian actually came back? The man they had once regarded as a demon had actually returned? Back then, Zhu Qian had already been ambushed and was seriously injured. However, under the circumstances where all the experts on the continent had been mobilized, he was still able to kill half of them and break through the heavy encirclement. That battle was earth-shattering. From then on, Zhu Qian was crowned as a devil. He had originally thought that this man's soul had already dispersed. Who would have thought that he would actually come back? Chapter 2097. Looks like you really do know me. The man's lips curled into a smile. That smile was indifferent and ethereal. It actually seemed so unreal. Was my name in my previous life called Zhu Qian? The old man's expression had already calmed down from his initial anger. He laughed mockingly. I don't care what your identity was in your past life. However, I know that you do not have the power to control us in this life. Now that you've delivered yourself to our doorstep, I shall avenge my past humiliation and kill you. Boom! Suddenly, the old man's aura burst forth and he instantly rushed toward Zhu Qian. His eyes were filled with killing intent and it was clear that he was determined to kill Zhu Qian. The old man's aura was too strong. When he attacked, the surrounding ground was swept up by the hurricane brought by his body. Yun Xiao raised his hand and protected Yun Luofeng in his embrace. He used his sleeves to block the violent hurricane, and his cold eyes carried a stern look. Azure wings! Yun Luofeng shouted when he saw the old man rushing towards Zhu Qian. At that moment, Yun Yi's huge body appeared in front of Zhu Qian, blocking the old man's attack. Boom! A huge explosion rang out from Yun Yi's body. His body was instantly shaken off, his skin and flesh split open. Fortunately, Yun Yi was a puppet, so even though he already had consciousness, he still did not feel pain. Otherwise, he would have immediately fainted from the pain. Zhu Qian, leave this place immediately. Yun Luofeng lifted his eyes and said coldly to the old man in front of him. At this moment, everyone's gazes once again returned to Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao. The old man's expression was a little ugly. He raised his chin slightly and stood with his hands behind his back. He still had the demeanor of an immortal. Miss Yun, I just saved you. Why are you stopping me for the sake of Zhu Qian, the traitor of humanity? Yun Luofeng laughed coldly. This is the first time I've heard you speak of your own shamelessness and selfishness so naturally. Today, with me here, don't even think about touching a hair on him. Speaking of which, it was only her first time meeting Zhu Qian, however, Zhu Qian was her master. Without Zhu Qian, she wouldn't have been able to control the array formation and the puppet-making technique. More importantly, from the first moment she met Zhu Qian, she was filled with admiration for this man. That kind of respect was not only for Zhu Qian's strength, but also for his temperament. "Miss?" The man turned his gaze towards Yun Luofeng and smiled faintly. "Do we know each other?" "You don't know me, but I know you." She had achieved what she had today by standing on the shoulders of giants. Whether it was the divine medical encyclopedia or the things that Zhu Qian had left for her, they had all allowed her to grow very quickly. Humph! The old man had not expected Yun Luofeng to be acquainted with Zhu Qian. His expression had already darkened, and he no longer had his initial friendliness and politeness. "I originally wanted to groom you, but you are acquainted with this man. If I groom you, it would be the same as adding another enemy to the human race." But, at this point, the old man's tone changed and he continued, "If you're willing to draw a line with him, I'm willing to give you a chance." Hearing this, those who were gloating couldn't help but sigh. It was truly infuriating to compare oneself to others. They didn't know how this girl had caught the eye of the ruler. As for her choice, it would certainly be to draw a line with this immortal-like man. Chapter 2098. No one would give up on such generous conditions. Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng's expression was very solemn. "If you fight with this old man, what are your chances of winning?" 30%. Yun Xiao answered very truthfully. 30% chance of winning was not impossible. However, Yun Luofeng suddenly remembered that there was not just one person who had attacked Zhu Qian. In other words, there were still a few old men with this kind of strength in the spirit god mainland. What if all of them came? Then how confident would they be in this battle? Yun Luofeng's eyes flashed as she laughed coldly. "If you really had good intentions and wanted to groom me, you would not have sent the Qin family to cause trouble for me. The Qin family would not have mobilized so many people for a branch disciple." Therefore, from the way Qin Tianlao had looked at the old man, Yun Luofeng could tell that there was something fishy between the two of them. "Let me guess." Yun Luofeng stroked her chin, and the smile on her face deepened. "I should have something that you want on me, right? And you are the only one who has discovered it for now. The rulers of this mainland have not sensed it. Otherwise, you would not be the only one here today." The old man's eyes were clearly shocked. Even if it was just a flash, Yun Luofeng still caught it. She was even more certain of her guess. "Am I right?" She raised her brows and smiled faintly. The old man's expression gradually returned to normal. "So what if you are? If you die, I'm afraid that no one will know about this." This time, he did not deny it. Instead, he directly exposed his character. Since this girl had come here, he could not let her leave. Yun Luofeng shrugged and smiled. "Even if you kill us, there are still others here. Someone will definitely spread the news. Do you really think that you can hide it from everyone in the world? If that's the case, then I'll just kill them all." The old man's tone was very indifferent. It was as if he hadn't killed a person, but an ant. However, the people who had been watching the show immediately became vigilant when they heard this. Some of them even instinctively stood together and looked at the old man warily. They didn't think that a promise would be effective against such a powerhouse. Now that he said such words, he would definitely do such a thing. "Yutian." Long Yen roared, "Don't forget, our dragon clan also has a ruler. Even if you humans rely on your numbers to kill our ancestral dragon clan. However, the strength of our ancestral dragon clan is still there. If you dare to touch us, the clan leader will not forgive you." The old man called Yutian glanced at Long Yen indifferently. "I already have a way to deal with this. Do you think you have the chance to tell the ancestral dragon clan who the murderer is? Also, when I kill someone, I never let anyone find out that I was the one who killed them." After these words were spoken, Yutian's killing intent intensified. Even the entire sky darkened, as if it was enveloped by a layer of dark clouds. Yun Luofeng quietly looked at everything in front of him. The words she had just said were to put everyone on the opposing side of Yutian. Long Yen had remained fearless from the moment she had revealed her power. This meant that he must still have some trump cards up his sleeves. Now, after these words, the Dragon Clan and Yution had completely become enemies. Then, they would be a little safer. Yun Xiao naturally understood Yun Luofeng's intentions right from the beginning. Hence, he only stood quietly by the side and looked at the beautiful woman next to him with a gentle gaze. Chapter 2099. Long Yan's face turned from green to white, then from white to green. He glared angrily at the cold and arrogant old man. Have you forgotten the agreement between the humans and the ancestral Dragon Clan many years ago? Agreement? Yution smiled mockingly. What does that have to do with me? Anyway, no one will know that I was the one who killed the Dragon Clan. Isn't that enough? After saying that, he turned his gaze towards Yun Luofeng. A cold light flashed in his eyes. If you had been willing to leave with me, then so many things wouldn't have happened now. So, you can only blame yourself for not being sensible. In the beginning, he had not intended to use violence against Yun Luofeng. That was on the premise that Yun Luofeng would listen to him and leave with him. But now, this woman's temper was too unyielding. Being soft definitely wouldn't work, so he had to use force. When Long Yan heard this, he was so angry that his entire body trembled. He waved at Long Luo and said, "Eldest miss, come to my side immediately. I want to see how this group of people can shake the dignity of the Dragon Clan." Long Luo bit her lip and stood quietly beside Yun Luofeng. It was as if she had not heard Long Yan's words. Her large eyes were filled with stubbornness. "Eldest miss." Long Yan could not help but shout again. His tone was anxious. "I won't." Long Luo's eyelashes were very long and fluttered like wings. Her large clear eyes were filled with determination and her adorable little face was flushed pink. "I want to be with Miss Yun." When she was in danger, it was this woman in white who descended from the sky and rescued her. From then on, she worshipped Yun Luofeng as a god. Yution's body had already moved. He was very fast and was about to reach Yun Luofeng and the others in an instant. Yun Xiao was also ready to fight. But at this moment, Long Yan took a quick step forward and blocked Yution. The other party's powerful energy penetrated his body and it exploded with a bang. His body was also thrown out like a rag. Long Yan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and stood up from the ground. His body swayed a little as he staggered towards Yution. Very quickly, he walked over to Yution's side. With his back facing Yun Luofeng and the others, he said, "I know that you saved the eldest Mississippi. I also know that based on our previous conflicts, I can't possibly beg you for anything. However, on account of the fact that eldest young lady chose you when she was in danger, you should bring eldest young lady away from here quickly. I will block him with the ancestral Dragon Clan." Long Yan's back was very stiff and his steps were slightly heavy, but he did not take a single step back. That's right, the conflict between him and Yun Luofeng was very deep, and he had also hurt the little worm. But Long Luo was the eldest daughter of the ancestral Dragon Clan. He was also the target that all the dragons had to protect with their lives. If the young miss could leave safely, he was willing to entrust her to Yun Luofeng. "You reptiles want to stop me?" Yutiani raised his hand and his power surged out like a light wave, once again bombarding Long Yan's chest. Long Yan's body quickly flew out and he spat out a mouthful of blood with a wuss sound. He could not stop it no matter how hard he tried. "Grandpa Long Yan." Long Luo hurried to Long Yan's side, her eyes filled with worry. No matter how big of a mistake Long Yan had just made, his loyalty to the Dragon Clan would never change. Yun Luofeng looked at Long Yan, who was unable to get up, and frowned slightly. Could it be that she had guessed wrong? Did Long Yan not have any hidden cards? I'll publish one chapter first. There will be many more soon. Chapter 2100. Cough. Long Yan coughed again and spat out a mouthful of blood. His elderly face was pale. He pushed Long Luo aside and shouted, "Eldest lady, leave now." He staggered forward a few steps and almost fell to the ground. However, he managed to steady himself and his elderly body was like a mountain. "Leave." Yution's expression was still calm, but a cold glint flashed in his eyes. "I'm afraid you won't have the chance." When Yution's aura grew stronger and stronger, The heavens and earth changed color and the sun and moon lost their light. It was as if a layer of dark clouds had shrouded the sky, causing everyone standing on the ground to feel a deep pressure. Yun Xiao protected Yun Luofeng firmly as she stared coldly at Yu Tian with an expressionless face. Little Worm, Yun Yi, and Xiao Mo, bring Mu Qingfei and Long Luo back to the illusory array immediately. Under Yu Tian's aura, Yun Luofeng felt an unprecedented sense of danger. At a time like this, the only thing she could do was to minimize the casualties. Mistress. Little Worm's mouth twitched unwillingly. It was true that Little Worm was afraid of death, but when faced with true danger, he was unwilling to abandon Yun Luofeng and the others. Yun Yi's expression was a little bashful, but he was also unwilling to flee at the last minute. Master, I'm a puppet. He hesitated for a moment before speaking in a hoarse voice. Puppets were immortal and had no sense of pain. However, as a puppet, if his bones were turned into ashes, no matter how powerful Yun Luofeng was, he would not be able to come back from the dead. Go back. This is an order. Yun Luofeng's voice carried an unquestionable determination as he shouted fiercely. The other spiritual beasts were also very unwilling as they stood behind Yun Luofeng, unwilling to leave. If it's just me and Yun Xiao, we're confident that we can come out unscathed. The few of you here will only distract us. Yun Luofeng's tone was very strict and it stunned the spiritual beasts. Their hearts were filled with grievances. However, they also knew that Yun Luofeng was speaking the truth. This time they did not resist. They grabbed the clueless Long Luo and Mu Qingfei and hid in the illusory array. Similarly, the Steel Flame Legion was also persuaded to return. On the entire street, other than the Sir-Gods who had surrounded Little Worm, there were only her and Yun Xiao, as well as Grand Preceptor Feng Jin, who was Zhu Qian's reincarnation. As for the ancestral dragon clan, finally, Yun Luofeng looked at Long Yen and asked, "Do you have the confidence to defeat him?" Her voice came from within his soul, causing Long Yen to be taken aback. He looked at Yun Luofeng with a complicated expression and said, "Actually, I've already informed our patriarch. He's on his way here. What I need to do is stall for time. I asked Eldest Miss to leave just now because I was afraid that she would be in danger before the clan leader arrived." Stall for time? Yun Luofeng's eyes darkened as his gaze gradually turned towards Yun Xiao. "Leave it to me." He held her hand and said firmly, "I won't let you be in danger." The man's words made Yun Luofeng's heart filled with warmth, and the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curl up. "All right, I believe you." She believed in Yun Xiao. She believed even more that as long as this man was here, any danger could be resolved. Yun Xiao slowly retracted her gaze from Yun Luofeng and turned her grim gaze towards Yu Tian. Her expressionless face grew even colder. Chapter 2101. Puppet. Yu Tian's eyes flashed with an obscure light as he said slowly, "So, that kid was a puppet. I actually didn't realize it. Even Zhu Qian didn't have the ability to let a puppet have human thoughts. How did you do it?" Yu Tian was very curious about this question. If he could control this ability, from then on, there would only be one ruler in Spirit God Continent. "You want to know?" Yun Luofeng's lips curled up. "Perhaps you won't have the chance in this lifetime." Yu Tian's expression turned cold as the storm that surged out of his body became stronger. In the dark void, a thunderclap came crashing down, smashing a pitch-black pit on the ground. "Refusing a toast only to drink a forfeit. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being ruthless. Feng be careful." When Yu Tian's power erupted, it was as if there was an invisible hand that destroyed everything around him. At that moment, Yun Xiao, he couldn't care less about fighting with Yu Tian. He immediately turned around and protected Yun Luofeng in his arms. He pressed her head tightly against his shoulder. The moment the power destroyed, those with weaker defenses were directly sent flying by the aura. Under the horrified gazes of the others, they gradually lost their breath. Yu Tian didn't even move his hand and those god lords lost their lives. How could such a powerful power not be terrifying? Qin Tianlao's first thought was to escape. However, his legs kept trembling and he couldn't move. He could only look at Yu Tian in horror, Fortunately, Yu Tian didn't care about him at all. He didn't even bother to look at him. His eyes were fixed on Yun Luofeng, who was protected in Yun Zhao's arms. His expression didn't change. Tell me, what is the relationship between you and Zhu Qian? At the same time, Feng Jin also turned his head. His handsome face revealed a puzzled expression. Miss, you know me too? Yun Luofeng's body gradually left Yun Zhao's embrace. The corners of his lips curled up slightly. I know you, but I also don't know you. Logically speaking, I should call you Master. Master? Feng Jin's expression became more and more puzzled. It was obvious that he was thinking about something. I keep feeling that I have forgotten something, but he couldn't remember what it was at the moment. Zhu Qian, you're actually still alive? Yu Tian's gaze finally landed on Zhu Qian again. There was an obvious flash of surprise in his eyes. Zhu Qian was only a piece of trash right now. So why was he able to survive under his own power? Compared to her, I must kill you first. Very soon, he regained his senses and a murderous aura surged out. His body was like a bolt of lightning as he shot towards Feng Jin. Feng Jin was still immersed in his own thoughts and didn't notice Yu Tian in front of him. His brows were tightly furrowed as he thought hard about the things he had forgotten. Be careful! Yun Luofeng hurriedly shouted. Yun Xiao was also about to make a move. However, at this moment, a silver figure pounced from afar and blocked in front of Feng Jin. The opponent's attack also passed through his body and exploded in his chest. Puff! The young man had a head full of silver hair and his long robe fluttered in the wind. There was a mournful smile on his face as he fell from the sky like a beautiful flower petal into Feng Jin's embrace. Chapter 2102. It's you? Feng Jin's heart ached when he saw the pale-faced youth in his arms. That kind of pain felt as if it had crossed an entire century, causing his heart to clench fiercely. Mo Qianqing? Yun Luofeng also saw the youth in Feng Jin's arms and was stunned. Why are you here? Cough, cough. Mo Qianqing coughed as blood flowed continuously from his mouth. His originally clear eyes were now covered in a faint white mist. He turned his head with difficulty and stared unblinkingly at Yun Luofeng. Actually, I should have realized a long time ago that you are not Zhu Qian, he laughed. His laughter was filled with bitterness and helplessness, as well as a deep pain that ordinary people couldn't detect. But I have been deceiving myself all this time. Even though you have told me many times that you were lying to me, I have always told myself that you are Zhu Qian, because I have waited for so many years, even if it was just a fantasy. Mo Qianqing slowly closed his eyes as a teardrop fell from the corner of the youth's eye. After a long time, he opened his eyes and looked at Feng Jin with infatuation and longing. Zhu Qian, I have finally met you. Even though your personality has changed greatly, you are still the man that I want to pursue for the rest of my life. For you, I have no regrets in life and death. Feng Jin's hand froze and he lowered his eyes slightly. Even though I don't remember you, I clearly know that there is definitely an unusual relationship between us. So, I will not let you die. Zhu Qian, I never thought that I would be able to see you in this lifetime. I also never thought that I would die in your arms. This kind of ending is the best for me. After he said this, Mo Qianqing slowly closed his eyes. His breathing was very weak, as if it would disappear at any time. I said that you cannot die, so no one can let you die. At this moment, Feng Jin didn't sense the tremble in his voice. He only knew that he couldn't let Mo Qianqing die here. Move aside. Yun Luofeng slowly walked to Feng Jin's side and said, Let me take a look at his injuries. Feng Jin was stunned. He turned his head and met the woman's clear eyes. He nodded and said, Okay. After he finished speaking, he had already retreated to the side. However, his brows were still filled with worry. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels have been shattered, and he has no way to recover. Yun Luofeng looked at Mo Qianqing's injuries and continued, However, there is another way to save him. As soon as she finished speaking, Yun Luofeng raised her hand, and a dark green fruit appeared in her hand. This is something I obtained from the Beast Continent's dragon clan. It has the effect of reviving the dead. As long as the time of his death is less than an hour, I can save him." As he spoke, Yun Luofeng's heart throbbed. If she had rushed back to the 7 continents earlier, perhaps Hong Luan would not have died. Even if she was already dead, she could still pull her back from the netherworld. Yun Luofeng no longer thought about it. He took a deep breath and forcefully stuffed the fruit into Emo Qianqing's mouth. "I know that you are not dead. Eat this fruit and you will recover immediately." Emo Qianqing raised his head tiredly. He turned his head and saw Feng Jin's sorrowful eyes. He slowly nodded. When Feng Jin heard Yun Luofeng's words, his heart was already at ease. He slowly walked to Emo Qianqing's side and held his hand tightly. Then he turned to look at Yun Luofeng. Chapter 2103. "Thank you, Mississippi. If you can save him, I will do anything for you unconditionally for the rest of my life." At this moment, there was only one thought in Feng Jin's mind, and that was to never let Zhu Qian leave him no matter what. However, just as Feng Jin's heart settled down, the hand that he had been holding gradually slipped and fell to the ground with a thud. "What's going on?" Yun Luofeng's expression changed and she quickly stepped forward. She grabbed Emo Qianqing's chin tightly and forced him to open his mouth. At that moment, a small, dark green fruit fell from Emo Qianqing's mouth, completely unharmed. Yun Luofeng's eyes gradually darkened when she saw this. "It looks like he's determined to die. He had purposely not taken the fruit that I had given him." Feng Jin's handsome face turned pale at this moment. His eyes stared at Emo Qianqing in disbelief as he asked in a trembling voice, "Why?" Suddenly, Feng Jin seemed to remember something and immediately turned towards Yun Luofeng. "Didn't you say that a dead person can be saved within an hour? Then think of a way to save him now. As long as you can save him, I'll promise you anything. Even if he had to give up his life, he would be willing to give it up." Yun Luofeng bent down and picked up the fruit. She then placed it next to Emo Qianqing's lips, and the spiritual energy in her palm gradually gathered towards the fruit. In an instant, the fruit turned into a green liquid and slowly flowed into Emo Qianqing's mouth. However, Emo Qianqing seemed to have made up his mind to die. Even though he had already lost his life, he still could not allow the liquid to flow into his mouth. Yun Luofeng's brows were tightly furrowed. After a long pause, she withdrew the liquid which was enveloped in spiritual energy. Her expression was very solemn. There's no way to save him." It wasn't that she was incapable of saving Emo Qianqing. Rather, to a person who was determined to die, no matter how capable she was, she could not possibly save him from King Yama's palace. Boom! Feng Jin seemed to have suffered a heavy blow. His handsome face was now completely pale and colorless. He lowered his head to look at the youth lying in a pool of blood, and the pain in his heart poured out uncontrollably. "Why did you do this?" Feng Jin lowered his body and slowly lifted Emo Qianqing up from the ground. His expression was filled with gentleness and regret that he had never shown before. "Are you doing this to take revenge on me? Although I don't know how I've hurt you, I know that you're the one I've been searching for." His slender fingers gently caressed that handsome face. His expression was very gentle. "Do you think you can leave me like this? No, you won't get what you want in this lifetime." Feng Jin carried Emo Qianqing's corpse and slowly walked towards the back. As he walked to Yun Luofeng's voice, he paused for a moment. Using a voice that only the two of them could hear, he said, "Even if I don't remember the things of the past, however, in the instant that Emo Qianqing died, I suddenly remembered a fragment. I seem to have left something behind in the Endless City. That thing will definitely be of help to you." "Endless City?" Yun Luofeng was startled. Wasn't this Endless City her secret in the Wuhui continent? Zhu Qian left something in Endless City? It seemed that she had to make a trip back to Endless City after leaving this place. Chapter 2104. "You want to leave?" Yu Tian snorted coldly, intending to stop Feng Jin and Emo Qianqing from leaving. However, at this moment, Yun Xiao suddenly stepped forward and blocked Yu Tian's attack. Yu Tian's eyes were cold as he shouted, "Get lost!" Boom! His strength was very strong, so strong that it was enough to destroy heaven and earth. However, under his powerful strength, Yun Xiao only took 2 steps back as he stared expressionlessly at the old man in front of him. Yu Tian's eyes flashed with a trace of astonishment. He hadn't expected Yun Xiao to be able to block his attack, however. He quickly calmed down. The hurricane lifted his long robe, making him look like an immortal. Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng looked at Yun Xiao worriedly as he clenched his fists tightly. Others couldn't tell, but Yun Luofeng, who understood Yun Xiao very well, knew that the attack just now had already injured Yun Xiao's body. He just wouldn't show it. This man, no matter how badly injured he was, wouldn't show a trace of it in front of the enemy. Instead, he endured it. You better not be a busybody. Otherwise, after I kill Zhu Qian, the first person I will kill will be you. Yun Xiao didn't reply and took the initiative to attack. His speed was very agile, like a leopard in the dark. His cold eyes carried a decisive sharpness. Yun Luofeng looked at Yun Xiao, who was fighting with Yu Tian, then turned to Long Yan and asked in a low voice, "How much longer until your Dragon Clan leader arrives?" "I'm not sure. If the clan leader doesn't encounter any unexpected situations along the way, there should be about an incense stick's time." "An incense stick's time?" Yun Luofeng gently stroked his chin and gently narrowed his eyes. "An incense stick's time is already enough." The moment his voice fell, he summoned the dragon scale armor, and a long sword appeared in his hand. His body flashed as he shot towards Yu Tian like a bolt of lightning. Boom! Yu Tian, who was fighting with Yun Xiao, didn't notice Yun Luofeng coming from the side. It wasn't until Yun Luofeng neared him that he suddenly saw the imposing demonic aura and hurriedly dodged to the side. At the same time, his palm landed on Yun Luofeng's chest. Yun Luofeng quickly retreated a few steps and fell into a warm embrace. "Yun Xiao will hold him back." Yun Luofeng's brows sank as he slowly said, "They only needed to hold on for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn." "All right." Yun Xiao agreed without asking anything. He released the body in his embrace and his cold eyes once again looked towards Yu Tian. The sky was overcast. After Yu Tian sneered twice, his body suddenly disappeared in mid-air. In the blink of an eye, he was already behind Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao. The aura on his body transformed into a sharp long sword that slashed down from mid-air with an irresistible force. Boom! Yun Xiao hugged Yun Luofeng and dodged to the side, evading Yu Tian's attack. The place where they had just been standing was left with a deep ravine by the fierce sword wind, as if the entire ground had been split open. But before they could react, Yu Tian moved again. On the streets, the surviving humans were cowering to the side, trying to reduce their presence as much as possible. Especially those who had gone against Yun Luofeng when they heard Qin Tianlao's order. They were so scared that they didn't even dare to breathe. Chapter 2105. These two people were able to remain unscathed under the attack of a powerhouse like Yu Tian. Just how tough was their strength? If they had fought against them just now, how good would the outcome have been? The crowd's resentment towards Qin Tianlao rose at the thought of this, and they glared fiercely at him. Compared to these people, Qin Tianlao's expression was even uglier, and his heart was filled with hatred towards his dead son. If that bastard had not lied about Yun Luofeng's power, he would not have sent people to surround him. Now, after witnessing Yun Luofeng and Yun Zhao's power, cold sweat began to form on his forehead. In the sky, the battle was growing more and more intense. The crowd could only see a few figures in the sky, but they were unable to capture their movements. Yun Luofeng's power was becoming weaker and weaker. She quickly took out a spiritual medicine and consumed it. Unfortunately, she had consumed too many spiritual medicines, and the spiritual medicine no longer had the initial rapid recovery effect. Feng watch out! Suddenly, a strong force rushed towards her, and then she fell into a warm embrace. His black robes fluttered in front of him as the man protected her tightly in his arms. His handsome face was right in front of her, so clear. Boom! The old man's hand suddenly landed on Yun Zhao's shoulder. This time, Yun Xiao could not hold back the blood that was surging endlessly in his heart. A mouthful of bright red blood sprayed out and splattered on Yun Luofeng's face. Yun Luofeng's pupils shrank. Yun Xiao. Feng, it's all right. I'll protect you. Even in the face of such a situation, Yun Xiao still used his gentle voice to comfort her. He raised his hand and gently wiped away the tear in the corner of the woman's eye. He then said gently, "Trust me. I'll let you leave this place safe and sound." Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng held Yun Xiao's hand tightly. Her lips trembled gently. "What are you doing?" Yun Xiao lowered his gaze and planted a gentle kiss on Yun Luofeng's forehead. His voice was gentle and warm. "I'll never go back on my promise to you." He slowly released the woman in his arms and slowly walked towards the old man. At that moment, the man's aura changed. There was a murderous intent in his callousness, as if a sharp sword had pierced through a person's heart. Furthermore, his aura was still rising non-stop, but it was very chaotic, causing Yun Luofeng's heart to clench. "Yun Xiao." Her voice caused the man's footsteps to stop, but in the end, he did not turn around, his back to the woman behind him. "Feng I, Yun Xiao, have no regrets to be able to meet you in this life." Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng's expression darkened. "I don't care what you want to do, but before that, you must fulfill the promise you made to me. You said that if I don't let you die, then you will never die. If I let you die, you won't even frown. Your life belongs to me. Without my permission, who allowed you to risk your life? Besides, I, Yun Luofeng, am not such a weak and incompetent person. I order you to follow me for the rest of your life and never give up. If you can't do it, I'll never see you again in this lifetime." The woman's words pierced the heart and caused the man to stop in his tracks. Because his back was facing Yun Luofeng could not see his expression. "Yun Xiao." Yun Luofeng looked at Yun Xiao and continued, "You said that you won't go back on your word. Then you can't give up on your previous promise either." Chapter 2106. Moreover, you're not a person who doesn't keep his promises. In that moment, Yun Xiao seemed to have forgotten the promise he had made back then. How could he have the heart to go back on something he had promised? Yu Tian was not in a hurry to be moved. He smiled sarcastically. "Even in such a situation, you don't forget to express your love? I, Yu Tian, am not a heartless person. Since that's the case, I can let you all speak your fill." Yun Luofeng lowered his eyes and slowly walked to Yun Xiao's side, holding his hand tightly. "Yun Xiao, I believe that even if you don't put your life on the line, we will still be able to survive." Yun Xiao looked at Yun Luofeng with a complicated expression. "Feng to me, there is nothing more important than you being alive. Even if he had to give up his life, he was willing. I will not allow you to do this." Yun Luofeng's face darkened, but when he saw Yun Xiao's expression, he calmed down. "Could it be that you want us to become orphans and widows?" A hint of heartache appeared in Yun Xiao's eyes. He had already forgotten that if Yun Luofeng didn't exist in this world, then the entire world wouldn't attract him at all. And Yun Luofeng was definitely the same. "Have you said enough?" Yu Tian didn't give the two a chance to speak. He smiled coldly. "Since you've said enough, I'll send you to the underworld to be a pair of mandarin ducks." In an instant, Yu Tian rushed towards Yun Luofeng. His killing intent was awe-inspiring and incomparably powerful. Yun Luofeng's fingers caressed her stomach, and a trace of gentleness appeared in her demonic eyes. After a long time, she raised her head and faced the incoming attack. Boom! Seeing that Yu Tian was about to reach Yun Luofeng, Yun Xiao raised her hand, wanting to pull Yun Luofeng over. But at this moment, a golden light shot out from Yun Luofeng's body. This light shot straight into Yun Xiao, piercing through the layers of obstruction. This golden light formed a protective layer around Yun Luofeng's body. When Yu Tian's palm landed on this protective layer, there seemed to be a strange power that bounced back his strength, slamming him into the ground. Fresh blood flowed from the corner of Yu Tian's mouth. His eyes were filled with shock as he stared unblinkingly at Yun Luofeng's abdomen, which had already become visible. The others were also stunned. Didn't Yu Tian want to hurt Yun Luofeng just now? Why did he injure himself? While everyone was trying to figure out what had happened, the golden light that had enveloped Yun Luofeng had already disappeared. The dark clouds had also been dispersed by the golden light, revealing the azure sky. What Yun Luofeng didn't know was that in his lower abdomen, a small life was smiling brightly. This was as far as he could help her. That power was all the spirit chi he had left behind in the past. Could create a protective layer for the mother's body. If the mother's body was in danger, the protective layer would be activated and the power attacking the mother's body would be reflected back. The stronger the attack, the greater the reflected damage. This was also the reason why Yutian was injured. Thinking about how he was going to be born in a few months, the little life smile became even brighter. Unfortunately, once he was born, his past memories would disappear. Thus, he could only use his limited time to reminisce about his wonderful life. Roar! Right at this moment, a dragon's roar rang out from the distance. This dragon's roar shook the entire world, causing the entire sky to tremble. It's him. Why has this old fellow rushed over? Yu Tian's expression changed drastically. He looked at Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao, and a dark light flashed across his eyes. I'll forgive you this time. Next time, I definitely won't let you off. Chapter 2107. As soon as he finished speaking, Yu Tian's body flashed and he disappeared from the streets. Not long after he disappeared, a huge figure flew over from a short distance away. His body was very long and sturdy, as if a huge mountain was blocking the sky. Long Yen, tell me what happened? The huge dragon's nasal voice made everyone's hearts tremble. Long Yen hurriedly stepped forward and respectfully recounted everything that had happened today. As he listened, the huge dragon's expression darkened and his eyes sparkled with a dark and gloomy light. That old man Yu Tian is extremely audacious. He dared to attack a member of the dragon clan. I will never let this bunch of people off. The huge dragon's gaze turned towards Yun Luofeng and he said slowly, Miss, thank you for saving my daughter's life. The ancestral dragon clan will never forget this kindness. Long Yen, aren't you going to apologize to this lady? Yes. Long Yan's face was flushed red, but he no longer had his initial arrogance and disdain. He said shamefully, Miss Yun, I have offended you previously. Please forgive me. Miss Long. Yun Luofeng glanced at Long Yen. The person you injured was not me, so you should apologize to Little Worm. If he forgives you, then this matter can be put behind us. If he is unwilling, then you will not stop until he forgives you. After saying this, Yun Luofeng released Little Worm and Long Luo. The moment Long Luo saw the clan leader, tears welled up in her eyes and her face was filled with grievance. Father? The clan leader looked at Long Luo's aggrieved little face and sighed helplessly. Such a big thing happened. Why didn't you return home? Long Luo bit her lip and lowered her head. I heard that you wanted to marry me to Fifth Elder's grandson. I did not want to marry him, so I escaped. Fifth Elder? A look of surprise flashed across the clan leader's eyes and he lowered his voice. When did I say such things? Where did you hear this from? Long Luo was so aggrieved that she almost cried. I overheard it when Fifth Elder's grandson was talking to someone else. He also said that father had already agreed to it. I did not want to marry him, so I escaped. The initially doubtful clan leader's aura instantly darkened when he heard this. It was terrifying. Long Yen, you handle this matter. Yes, Patriarch. Long Yen said respectfully. The grandson of the Fifth Elder? What the hell was that? How dare he covet the eldest miss? And they even announced that it was an order from the Patriarch? Would the Patriarch be stupid enough to betroth young miss to that kind of hedonistic son? More importantly, because of that idiot's mistake, eldest young miss had suffered so much outside. This was something that he would never forgive her for. As for the Chung family, the clan leader muttered to himself for a moment before a murderous glint flashed across his eyes. You don't have to do anything to the Chung family. Yun Luofeng glanced at the clan leader and said calmly, My subordinate has a grudge against the Chung family. He must avenge himself. All right. The clan leader nodded in agreement. I won't interfere in this matter. However, the Chung family has caused so much harm to my daughter. My daughter has many followers in the ancestral dragon clan. Those followers will definitely find trouble with the Chung family. I can't stop them from doing so. Yun Luofeng smiled faintly. It's enough that you don't interfere. I won't interfere with the others. Chung Wuyan had been hurt so badly by the Chung family. He must personally deal with the Chung family members. Chapter 2108. The clan leader's gaze suddenly fell on Little Worm and he frowned. Little fellow, have we met before? Little Worm's eyes were filled with confusion. I don't know you. In his memory, there was no such thing as a clan leader. Is that so? The clan leader looked a little dazed. He felt that this little fellow had an aura that was very familiar. Long Yen, hurry up and apologize to this little fellow. The clan leader seemed to remember the mistakes that Long Yen had made and said sternly, Yes. Long Yen slowly walked towards Little Worm with a look of shame on his face. Little master, I was indeed in the wrong in this matter. I have offended you in many ways, please forgive me. Little Worm scoffed and raised his little head proudly. Have you forgotten how you treated me in the past? How dare you disrespect my master and mistress, and now you're begging me to forgive you? Dream on. Then what must I do for you to forgive me? Long Yen asked softly. Little Worm stroked his chin. However, seeing that you were willing to block the danger with your own body, I can give you a chance. If the Dragon Clan kills all the people surrounding me, I will forgive you. In reality, ever since Long Yen had blocked the danger with his own body, Little Worm no longer hated him as much as before. However, he had to teach this old man a lesson and see how he would continue to be so arrogant in the future. Thank you, little master. Long Yen heaved a sigh of relief. His forehead was covered in cold sweat and he instinctively raised his hand to wipe it away. Everyone else had long been scared out of their wits. There was only one thought in their minds. That was to escape. However, just as they turned around, the path behind them was blocked by the huge bodies of a group of giant dragons. They were completely surrounded and could not escape even if they had wings. You've wrongly accused a member of the ancestral dragon clan. I can't give you another chance to live. Long Yen, you must handle this matter properly. Yes, clan leader. Long Yen had long hated this group of people to the core. It was only now that he had the time to care about them. At the thought of Qin Tianlao framing him and making him commit such a big mistake, he had the urge to tear him into pieces. Qin Tianlao, when you framed others, did you ever think that you would end up like this? Mu Qingfei was also released by Yun Luofeng. She looked at Qin Tianlao coldly. Moreover, even a vicious tiger will not eat its cubs. But you killed your own son. Hua! The crowd was in an uproar. They only knew that Qin Tianlao wanted to kill Little Worm, but they did not know that Qin Yuan was dead. He died in the hands of Qin Tianlao. Long Yen was even more furious. Previously, he had been dumbfounded by such a hypocrite. He even killed his own son. What else was there that he wouldn't do? At this moment, Qin Tianlao really wanted to find a hole to hide in. At least it would be better than being mocked. I still have one more thing that I need your ancestral dragon clan's help with. Yun Luofu no longer bothered with Qin Tianlao and the others. He turned to look at the clan leader and hesitated for a moment before speaking. What is it, Miss Yun, please speak. Yun Luofeng was silent for a moment. I want the urine of your ancestral dragon clan. Urine? The clan leader was stunned. What did she want the ancestral dragon's urine for? However, the clan leader also knew what to ask and what not to. So he only asked, How much do you want? Chapter 2109. Probably. Yun Luofeng thought about it and said, Half a bottle should be enough. The ancestral dragon produced very little urine, only 1 or 2 drops at a time. This half a bottle of urine was the crystallization of the little worm's efforts over several months. At the same time, the dragon saliva fruit was about to bear fruit once more. With this half a bottle of liquid, her dragon saliva fruit would bear fruit again. All right, I'll get the ancestral dragons under me to prepare it for you. The clan leader smiled and agreed. Thank you, Yun Luofeng said politely. No need to thank me. This is what I should do. You saved my daughter first. Then you were wronged by Long Yen. No matter what I do, I can't make up for Long Yan's mistakes. The clan leader's words eased Yun Luofeng's expression. Fortunately, the clan leader of the ancestral dragon clan was more reasonable. If there was another Long Yen, she might not be able to control her emotions. How long will the dragon urine take? Yun Luofeng thought about it and continued to ask. She remembered what Feng Jin had said to her before he left. Therefore, she had to make a trip to Endless City as soon as possible. About 3 days will be enough. Then I'll go with you to the dragon clan. Get those dragons to give me their urine. If she waited here for the clan leader, a round trip would waste a lot of time. She might as well go with him to the dragon clan. That's right. Yun Luofeng seemed to have thought of something and continued. When the time comes, I will have to leave for a period of time. Can you make a trip to the 7 continents continent, the place you call the abandoned land, and protect some people for me? The only thing she was worried about when she left was Zhu Qian's enemies. Once they knew her abilities, there was no guarantee that they wouldn't make a move on the old master and the rest. The clan leader was stunned, and hesitation flashed in his eyes. Why, can't I? Yun Luofeng frowned and asked. The clan leader smiled bitterly and shook his head. It's not that I don't want to, but as the ruler of this continent, I can't leave it. What do you mean? Yun Luofeng's frown deepened. The spiritual energy in your forsaken land is very thin. That's because the spirit god continent has attracted all the spiritual energy from the forsaken land. As for me, Yu Tian, and the others, we are the core of this continent. If we leave the spirit god continent, not only will it collapse, even we won't be able to survive. If you really need help, I can send other experts of the Dragon Clan to help you. The spirit god continent was a huge formation. It was similar to the illusion formation that Yun Luofeng had brought with him. The only difference was that, as the core of the mainland, the patriarch and the others could not leave this mainland. Thinking of this, Yun Luofeng's eyebrows relaxed. No wonder from the beginning, Yu Tian did not personally capture him, but used Qin Tian's labor. There was actually this layer of relationship. Since those people couldn't leave the spirit god continent, then Yu Tian couldn't personally cause trouble for the old man. As long as the rulers didn't make a move, she didn't have to worry about the others. Miss Yun, actually, the reason why we're able to become rulers is inextricably linked to this formation. The clan leader smiled helplessly. As the center of the illusory formation, the first place the spiritual energy reaches is our bodies. We've also borrowed this spiritual energy to raise our power to such a level. Chapter 21:10. I understand. Yun Luofeng nodded. Then I won't trouble you. Miss Yun, you've seen Long Yan's power. I can ask him to help you. The clan leader thought that Yun Luofeng was angry and suggested, I can guarantee that on this mainland, aside from the rulers, no one else is a match for Long Yan. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng raised the corners of her lips. No need. I'm confident that I can handle them. She didn't want to owe the Dragon Clan a favor. If there was no other way, she would ask the Dragon Clan for help. Since she was confident, she would not ask for it again. If that's the case, I won't force you. If you need anything, you can ask the Ancestral Dragon Clan anytime. As long as your request isn't too much, the Dragon Clan will definitely grant your request. Yun Luofeng did not say anything else. Her gaze had already turned towards Yun Xiao. Her eyes, which had been filled with anger, involuntarily softened when she met the man's aggrieved gaze. She said exasperatedly, Yun Xiao, in the future, no matter what happens, you can't risk your life. I didn't think too much at the time, I just wanted you to live. Yun Luofeng's eyes narrowed slightly. A dangerous light flashed across her gaze. If you dare to die, I'll drag you out from the underworld. Feng Yun Xiao held Yun Luofeng's hand and said affectionately, I was wrong. Can you forgive me? Yun Luofeng glared at her fiercely. I'll settle the score with you in bed. How? I'll make sure you can't get out of bed. Yun Luofeng squeezed Yun Xiao's hand, his tone still fierce. Yun Xiao, who had been aggrieved, laughed at Yun Luofeng's words. I couldn't ask for more. Yun Luofeng's entire face darkened. She had forgotten that although this man was usually very obedient, he was actually a beast in bed. Even if she worked herself to death, there would never come a day when this beast couldn't get out of bed. Master. Little Worm pursed its lips. You want to flirt, but have you considered the feelings of a single dragon like me? It seemed like it was time for him to find a female dragon, lest he be angered to death by these two people's public display of affection. Yun Luofeng swept a glance at Little Worm and did not answer his question. Her gaze once again turned to the dragon chief and slowly said, "When do we leave? Let's do it now." The patriarch answered Yun Luofeng without any hesitation. As for Qin Tianlao and the others, they were handed over to Long Yen to deal with. There were not many dragons in the ancestral dragon clan. In fact, there were very few of them. Therefore, even though it was only half a bottle of urine, it still took them 3 whole days. 3 days later, Yun Luofeng, who had prepared the medicinal liquid, entered the medicine field and poured it on the dragon saliva tree. Not long after, the dragon saliva tree once again sprouted and bore fruit, completing the entire process in a short period of time. With some of these fruits, the members of the Steel Flame Corps could successfully break through. But this time, Yun Luofeng had left the Steel Flame Corps to break through in the illusory array. Therefore, it didn't affect them too much. After distributing all the dragon saliva fruits, Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao left Spirit God Continent and set off for Endless City. This was Yun Luofeng's 3rd time entering Endless City. The first time, Endless City was her territory. She had established the medicine tower here and met her good friend from 2 lifetimes. Nangong Uni, Chapter 21:11. The second time was on her way back. She happened to pass by this place and came to avenge Ruoshui and Yi Jun when they were bullied. Therefore, this was the 3rd time she had entered the Endless City. If I didn't remember wrongly, I discovered a cave in Endless City all those years ago, and there was a formidable spirit beast living in that cave, causing me to be unable to go in and investigate it to the end. I came back in a hurry last time and didn't have time to enter this cave. Yun Luofeng stopped and turned to look at Yun Xiao before continuing. This is the only place in the entire Endless City that is suspicious. Yun Xiao hugged Yun Luofeng and said gently, "Let's go down and have a look." All right. The two of them entered the big cave without hesitation. It was pitch black underground. Yun Luofeng saw the thick black mist in front of her. She held her breath and said, "Yun Xiao, this black mist is poisonous. Remember not to breathe it." In fact, Yun Xiao could see that the black mist was unusual even without Yun Luofeng's reminder. However, he did not say it to Yun Luofeng and only nodded slowly. "I'll remember." The two of them stopped talking after that and headed toward the black mist. It did not take long for them to pass through the black mist, and the skeletons in front of them appeared in their sight. There were treasures hidden in those skeletons, but those treasures had long been taken by Yun Luofeng. Therefore, Yun Luofeng did not hesitate and headed forward. 9-winged sky dragon. Soon, the 9-winged sky dragon that little Mo called extremely dangerous also fell into Yun Luofeng's pitch-black eyes. The 9-winged sky dragon was still in a deep sleep and did not know the people who came. Its huge body blocked the door behind it as its entire body curled up. The 9-winged sky dragon. An ancient fierce beast, powerful and mighty. It once occupied a part of the sea and was the king. Later on, during the battle with humans, it destroyed thousands of human troops in a single breath. Its flames burned the continent for months without stopping. With a flap of its wings, mountains and rivers collapsed and the world ended. With a sweep of its tail, everything became barren. The description of the 9-winged sky dragon in the history books appeared in Yun Luofeng's mind as his eyes gradually became vigilant. Even though he had reached the ultimate god realm, he still did not dare to be careless when facing the 9-winged sky dragon. As the two of them walked forward, the 9-winged sky dragon's heavy breathing became louder and louder. This intense breathing was like thunder, causing one's heart to tremble slightly. Yun Luofeng took a deep breath. His footsteps were light, afraid that the 9-winged sky dragon would wake up if he was not careful. Fortunately, when they walked to the side of the 9-winged sky dragon, the dragon was still asleep, as if it could not get enough sleep. Even so, Yun Luofeng's heart was not at ease. She carefully tried to bypass the 9-winged sky dragon's back, her hand involuntarily pushing against the giant door behind it. But before her hand could reach the giant door, she suddenly met a pair of ruthless and cruel eyes. These eyes were emotionless. Their blood-red color revealed a cruel nature, causing Yun Luofeng's hand to suddenly freeze. Feng Yun Xiao reacted quickly. When the nine-winged sky dragon's huge body got up, she pulled Yun Luofeng into her arms and used her sleeves to block the wind caused by the giant wings. Chapter 21:12. Roar. A dragon's roar was heard from within the cave. At that moment, the sky and earth changed colors and the sun and moon lost their light. It was like the end of the world. The people of Endless City did not know what was happening as they all ran out of their houses and looked at the void shrouded by dark clouds in horror. Their eyes were filled with deep astonishment. In the cave, the nine-winged sky dragon flapped its wings and a strong wind swept past. The entire cave collapsed in an instant as the ruins almost buried Yun Luofeng and the others. Only the giant gate was still standing there, unmoving like a mountain. Roar! The nine-winged sky dragon roared again as the originally unstable sky once again surged with wind and clouds. It really felt like the end of the world. At that moment, Yun Luofeng finally understood. What was the collapse of mountains and rivers? What was the end of the world? The nine-winged sky dragon indeed had such strength. If Yun Luofeng and the others had not broken through to the ultimate god realm, perhaps their souls would have been destroyed by the nine-winged sky dragon's shocking power, however. The awakened nine-winged sky dragon ignored Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao as it flew toward the void, intending to leave that place. Yun Xiao, quick, we have to stop it. We can't let it leave. Yun Luofeng's expression changed drastically as she hurriedly said. It was not that she was concerned about the safety of the people, but her family and friends were still on that continent. If the nine-winged sky dragon were to leave that place, it would definitely cause destruction to the continent. Yun Xiao had obviously thought of that as well. Hence, when Yun Luofeng's voice trailed off, he had already quickly chased after the nine-winged sky dragon. Of course, Yun Luofeng did not stay idle. She took out a few stones and set up a formation on the ground. Although she was already proficient in formations, she was currently facing a powerful and terrifying nine-winged sky dragon. Each of its wings contained a different kind of power. If the power of all its wings were gathered, not to mention her and Yun Xiao, even the rulers of the spirit god continent might not be able to subdue it. It was only at that moment that Yun Luofeng realized there was a certain error in the records of the nine-winged sky dragon in the history books. The nine-winged sky dragon was definitely not a deity. It was an existence far beyond a divine emperor. Perhaps it had already reached the level of a true god. The first time she saw the nine-winged sky dragon, Yun Luofeng only knew that it was powerful. Now that she was facing it for the second time, the strength of the nine-winged sky dragon still made her heart palpitate. This feeling of palpitation did not even occur when she faced Yu Tian. From this, she concluded that the power of the nine-winged sky dragon was far more terrifying than she had imagined. Their only advantage was that the nine-winged sky dragon had just awakened and did not have enough control over its power. Otherwise, even if she and Yun Xiao joined forces, it would still be difficult for them to withstand a single blow from it. However, what puzzled her was how did Zhu Qian subdue the nine-winged sky dragon with his strength. Back then, Zhu Qian had only reached the ultimate god level not long ago, let alone a divine emperor. With his strength, what method did he use to make the nine-winged sky dragon guard the door for him? Yun Xiao blocked the nine-winged sky dragon's flight and began a head-on confrontation with it. The nine-winged sky dragon was so powerful that even Yun Xiao was a little tired of dealing with it. From start to finish, Yun Luofeng did not even look at the battle in the sky. She only focused on deploying the array. Due to the consumption of her spiritual energy, her forehead was covered in cold sweat. Chapter 21:13. She was sweating more and more, and not long after, she was caught in the crossfire. Yun Luofeng hurriedly took out a spirit fruit that could restore spirit energy, bit it, and swallowed it. Once his spirit energy was restored, he continued to set up the array. This time, it took an entire 2 hours to set up the formation. She wiped the sweat from her forehead and sat on the ground weakly. She took a few deep breaths before looking at Yun Xiao, who was gradually falling below. Yun Xiao, think of a way to lure the nine-winged sky dragon into this array. I'll see if this array can trap it. Yun Xiao did not reply. A glint flashed in his cold eyes, and then he raised his hand and picked up a long staff, circled behind the nine-winged sky dragon, and stabbed the staff in his hand into the nine-winged sky dragon's anus. The intense pain made the nine-winged sky dragon wail and chase after Yun Xiao angrily. Although the nine-winged sky dragon had just awakened and was lacking in both strength and intelligence, it also knew what shame was. As a sky dragon, its anus had been broken by a human. This was simply unbearable. If it did not kill this damned human, it would not be worthy of being a sky dragon. So, the simple-minded nine-winged sky dragon chased after Yun Xiao and also stepped into the array. The moment it entered the array, a ray of light rose and turned into an invisible wall, firmly trapping the nine-winged sky dragon in the array. Roar! The nine-winged sky dragon roared and its body slammed heavily into the array. Its body was knocked back a few steps, and its ferocious eyes were filled with annoyance other than anger. Yun Xiao, I can only trap the nine-winged sky dragon for now. When its strength is fully restored, I won't be able to trap it anymore. The nine-winged sky dragon was too strong. They could not do anything to it just by suppressing its strength. Even this array could only trap it for a while at most. However, since Zhu Qian was able to take it down, I can also find a way. It just takes time, Yun Luofeng said after pondering for a while. Yun Zhao's gaze gradually turned to the giant door that was previously blocked by the nine-winged sky dragon's body and said, "Let's go in and take a look first. Perhaps we can find a way to deal with the nine-winged sky dragon in this door." Hearing this, Yun Luofeng no longer hesitated and nodded. Okay. After saying that, the two of them walked towards the giant door. Yun Luofeng placed his hand on the giant door and pushed it open with a gentle push. The nine-winged sky dragon, whose eyes were filled with anger, had an even more complicated expression when it saw the two of them walking toward the giant door. There was a faint look of anxiety in its eyes, of course. Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao ignored her and entered the giant door. Beyond the door was another world, with an altar in the middle of it. Next to the altar were a few dragon eggs. The pattern on the dragon egg was very similar to the nine-winged sky dragon outside. Nine-winged sky dragon's egg? Yun Luofeng was taken aback. One nine-winged sky dragon was already terrifying enough. If these nine-winged sky dragons were also born, then the world would be the nine-winged sky dragon's world. It would cause misery for the people, and it would be like the end of the world. If I'm not wrong, the reason why the nine-winged sky dragon is guarding the door is not only because of Zhu Qian, but also because of the dragon egg inside the door. Yun Xiao looked at Yun Luofeng and said. Yun Luofeng fell silent. The nine-winged sky dragon outside the door, and the nine-winged sky dragon's egg inside the door. Then why did Zhu Qian ask her to come here? Chapter 21:14. Roar! The nine-winged sky dragon outside the door seemed to have sensed the threat from Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao. It let out a warning roar, as if to stop them from approaching the dragon egg. As the two got closer, the nine-winged sky dragon became more and more irritable. Its body slammed hard against the illusion array, and from time to time, there was a loud crash outside the door, causing the door to tremble. Yun Xiao, my array can't hold him for too long. It's just that the nine-winged sky dragon's body is cruel. We can't let him leave this place. Yun Luofeng's expression darkened bit by bit, and his eyes were very solemn. After hearing this, Yun Xiao did not hesitate. She quickly walked to the nine-winged sky dragon's egg and frowned slightly. There's something wrong with this nine-winged sky dragon's egg. What's the problem? I'm not sure. I can't feel the existence of any life inside this dragon egg. Can't feel any life? Yun Luofeng pondered for a while. The nine-winged sky dragon in this dragon egg is already dead? Or perhaps this dragon egg was never a nine-winged sky dragon to begin with. No matter what, Yun Luofeng could still see the importance of the dragon egg to the nine-winged sky dragon. Yun Xiao, wait for me for a moment. I'm going to check the items in this room. After saying this, Yun Luofeng closed her eyes slightly and used all her mental strength to sweep the room. After a while, she suddenly opened her eyes and quickly walked to the corner in front of her. In this corner, there was actually a secret door. Yun Luofeng's hand gently fell on the secret door and slowly pushed it open. Yun Xiao quietly followed behind Yun Luofeng and walked into the secret door. He remained vigilant, afraid that Yun Luofeng would encounter danger. Yun Luofeng gently narrowed her eyes, and her gaze suddenly stopped on the transparent barrier in front of her. In the center of that barrier stood a naked little lowly. This little lowly had a head of golden hair, and her skin was snow-white to the point of almost being transparent. Her eyes were very ignorant, like a little girl who had just gained consciousness. She was looking at Yun Luofeng with curious eyes. Earlier on, Yun Xiao had already turned her head around, her back facing the little lowly behind her. Even though the little Lolita seemed to be defenseless, he still said worriedly, "Her identity is not simple for her to appear here. Be careful, and I have a guess that someone deliberately used the dragon egg to trap the nine-winged sky dragon so that the nine-winged sky dragon could protect this little girl." Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao had the same guess. At first, she thought that the nine-winged sky dragon's egg was what Zhu Qian had left for her. Only now did she understand. The little girl in front of him was the most precious treasure in this sect. "You don't have to be afraid." Yun Luofeng slowly walked towards the little lowly, his tone gentle. "I'm here to save you." The little girl tilted her head and looked at Yun Luofeng in a daze. She was like a spirit of heaven and earth. She had just gained intelligence and did not understand the dangers of the world. Yun Luofeng walked in front of the little girl and stopped. Her hand gently fell on the transparent barrier in front of her. Her palm completely passed through it. Only then did Yun Luofeng understand that this barrier only had a restraining effect on the little girl in front of him. "I'll pull you out now." Yun Luofeng's voice was very gentle. She did not know why, but she felt close to this little girl from the bottom of her heart. Chapter 21:15. The little girl looked at Yun Luofeng's outstretched hand and gently blinked her eyes before placing her hand on Yun Luofeng's. Soon after, Yun Luofeng pulled, and the little girl was pulled out from the spirit formation. Yun Luofeng took out a piece of clothing from his spatial ring and draped it over the little girl's body. The large robe covered the little girl's body, making her look weak and frail under the robe. "Do you know how to speak?" Yun Luofeng lowered his head to look at the little girl in front of him and asked. The little girl blinked, her long eyelashes fluttering. She was very cute. Her eyes were clean and clear, with a naive and innocent look. "You don't know how to speak?" Yun Luofeng hesitated for a moment. "If that's the case, are you willing to come with me? If you're not willing, I won't force you." The little girl seemed to understand this sentence. She tightly held onto Yun Luofeng's arm. Her eyes filled with a layer of mist, and her eyelashes that were like fans hung with tears. Yun Luofeng had met many little girls in his life, but none of them were as cute and innocent as the little girl in front of him. Her naivety was like that of a newborn child who did not understand the world. "You choose to come with me?" Yun Luofeng continued to look at the little girl and asked. The little girl blinked, her large, watery eyes staring unblinkingly at Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng also saw a trace of dependence in her eyes. This girl had probably never seen a stranger in all these years, and had treated her, who had appeared for the first time, as family. As such, no matter what, he could not leave this girl behind. "If you want to come with me, you can't not have your own name." Yun Luofeng thought for a moment. "How about this? You were born between heaven and earth and walk outside of the rules. I'll call you Chu Tian, how about that?" Chu Tian. Yun Chu Tian. That was her name. "If you agree, just blink your eyes." Yun Luofeng continued. The little girl blinked, which was equivalent to agreeing to Yun Luofeng's words. An innocent smile hung on her face. Her fair little face was as clean as the first snow in winter, and her eyes seemed to have been cleansed by spring water. "Yun Xiao, let's go." Yun Luofeng looked at Yun Xiao, who had already turned around, and smiled. "From now on, she is Yun Chutian and also our daughter." Daughter. These two words made Yun Xiao's gaze soften. However, he still said, "This girl isn't human. I know. Compared to these things, I trust my feelings more." Yun Luofeng raised his eyes, his expression very serious. "All right, then she's our daughter." If Yun Luofeng wanted to do something, he would never stop him. Whatever Yun Luofeng accepted, he was also willing to accept. In this life, he was willing to respect her and do anything for her. Outside the door, the nine-winged sky dragon had already smashed open a crack in the array. The moment Yun Luofeng stepped out of the secret door, the nine-winged sky dragon completely smashed through the array. With a furious roar, it tried to rush out the door. Bang! However, just as the nine-winged sky dragon rushed to the door, it was as if a barrier had knocked it out. Its expression became more and more anxious, and it kept warning Yun Luofeng with a low growl. It seems that the nine-winged sky dragon can't come through this door. However, we can't stay here forever. We have to find a way to leave. Chapter 21:16. The nine-winged sky dragon's temper became more and more irritable. Its red eyes carried a cruel glint as it stared at Yun Luofeng, wanting to tear this woman into pieces. Yun Xiao, take out the nine-winged sky dragon's egg. With this egg, it won't act rashly, Yun Luofeng said with a deep frown. There seems to be some kind of power in the nine-winged sky dragon's egg that will prevent me from entering the secret door, so I temporarily left it by the altar. However, when the two of them wanted to take the nine-winged sky dragon's egg, Yun Luofeng was shocked by the next scene. Yun Chutian, who was just beside him, had walked to the altar. Even the nine-winged sky dragon's egg had been broken by her, and the corner of her mouth was full of egg yolk. Seeing Yun Luofeng walking toward her, she immediately looked at her with a pair of innocent eyes. The creature inside the nine-winged sky dragon's egg had died before this. This egg was just a dead egg, and it could not hatch into a nine-winged sky dragon. However, even so, this was the nine-winged sky dragon's wish. Otherwise, it would not have guarded here for so many years. Burp. Yun Chutian burped. She still did not know what she had done wrong, and her clean and clear eyes were filled with a pitiful look. Roar. The nine-winged sky dragon finally realized that the egg had been eaten. It hit the barrier outside the door even harder, its eyes bloodthirsty and its roar filled with anger. Yun Luofeng shrugged helplessly. Yun Xiao, it seems that we can't get out this time. I can fight him, Yun Xiao said after a moment of silence. No, it's too dangerous. The nine-winged sky dragon is not like when it just woke up. I don't want you to make any risky preparations. We must have other ways to stop him. Yun Luofeng stroked her chin and fell into deep thought. However, the nine-winged sky dragon was clearly angered by them. In other words, the mainland was at least safe. As long as she was sure that her family was safe, she would have time to think about how to deal with the nine-winged sky dragon. I got it. Yun Luofeng's eyes flashed. Among Jueqian's formations, there is a formation that might be able to deal with the nine-winged sky dragon. Yun Xiao turned to look at Yun Luofeng, silently waiting for her to speak. That formation is called the Heaven and Earth Entrapment Formation. This formation is very difficult to set up in a short period of time. Furthermore, I have never tried it before, so I might fail. I believe you. Yun Xiao's expression was very serious. He trusted her. As long as it was something she wanted to do, it was impossible for her to fail. All right, Yun Xiao, I'm not strong enough to set up this spell formation. I need your help. Yun Luofeng pondered for a moment, then continued, Yun Yi, come out and help me. In an instant, the spirit beasts all ran out of Yun Luofeng's divine grimoire space, and Yun Yi also appeared in front of her. Seeing that everyone had arrived, Yun Luofeng took a deep breath and began to set up the formation. The 7 continents. The sky was dyed red by the color of blood, and under this blood-colored sky, an austere killing was happening. If we kill this group of people, we can gain the favor of Lord Yutian. Lord Yutian is the ruler of our spirit god continent. With his favor, we can use the resources of the spirit god continent at will. Someone in the crowd said something that made the murderous intent of those people even stronger. Under their killing intent, the group of people had no room to resist at all. Chapter 21:17. At the same time, the Jun family in Ling continent was overcrowded. Jun Lingtian looked at Hong Ling, who had been picked up by the Jun family, and laughed. Lord Hong Ling, you can treat the Jun family as your home from now on. You don't have to be polite to us. With the Jun family's protection, you will definitely be safe and sound. Hong Ling sighed inwardly. He had never thought that his daughter's actions would protect the East Continent Prefecture from this calamity. That's right, a calamity. Not long ago, a group of people had come to kill them. Those people were very aggressive. They claimed that the 7 continents were abandoned lands and that they were wasting the resources of the spirit god continent. That was why they wanted to exterminate all humans in the 7 continents. Ling go and see if the people from West Spirit Academy are here. The elders of West Spirit Academy are Feng Er's masters, so you must make arrangements for them. As for the students, let them squeeze with the servants of the East Continent for a while. Oh, that's right. The people who went to the Yi residence in the Wuhui continent should be back by now. Also, bring Feng Er's subordinates from the medicine tower here. Who knows if this group of crazy people will also destroy the Wuhui continent. Jun Lingtian's expression became more and more serious. Although Yun Qingya had reached the Divine Lord level, he didn't know how many Divine Lords they were facing, so he had to be careful. Master! Suddenly, a servant hurried in. The master of the South Continent has sent someone to ask for an audience. The South Continent? Jun Lingtian sneered. Someone actually dares to come to the South Continent. Could it be that they had forgotten how they had treated the Yun family back then? Now they come to us for help? It's too late. Drive them out. Yes, master. Everyone in the 7 continents knew what the South Continent had done. Therefore, the servant of the Jun family had long been unhappy with the South Continent, but he still needed to report such an important matter to the master. However, it was impossible for the Jun family to not know what decision the master would make. Therefore, after receiving the order, the servant quickly walked out. Not long after, he saw the master of the South Continent waiting at the door. That's right. The master of the South Continent had come to the Jun family this time. He had no intention of leaving since he had come. Moreover, the Jun family couldn't just sit back and watch as the 7 continents faced such a crisis. At this moment, the South Continent's continent lord seemed to have forgotten how they had treated him when the Yun family was in danger. Our master has said that we won't take in people from the South Continent. The manservant held his head high and said disdainfully. The lord of the South Continent's expression changed, but he still needed the Jun family's protection. So his tone softened. Let me see Grandpa Jun. I will have a way to make him keep me. A trace of anger flashed in the servant's eyes as he snorted. You didn't save me in the past. Why should my old master take you in? Hurry up and leave, or I'll get someone to chase you away. You! The South Continent's continent lord was so angry that his face turned red. A mere servant dared to speak to him like this. After all, he was the continent master of South Continent. The South Continent's continent lord took a deep breath and clenched his fists, suppressing the anger in his heart. I don't want you to talk. I just want to see Grandpa Jun. Let me see him. I won't leave until I see him. Unexpectedly, just as the South Continent's continent lord finished speaking, a mocking voice came from behind. Chapter 21:18. You want the Jun family to take you in? The reason? Just because you left the Yun family in the lurch? A person in a gray robe followed by a group of people came forward. The woman did not even look at the lord of the South Continent. She cupped her fists towards the servant. Please go and report to the lord of the Jun family that the elder in gray of the Sacred Maiden tribe has come to visit. Elder Gray Robe is here? My grandfather has been waiting for you for a long time. The Holy Maiden tribe had helped the Yun family when they were in danger, and took in the seriously injured Grandpa Jun. Grandpa Jun would remember this kindness in his heart. So when the continent was in danger, he did not forget about the Holy Maiden tribe. It was an unintentional mistake. The South Continent's lord knew the identity of the person in front of him. He did not dare to vent his anger. Besides, your Holy Maiden tribe had offended Yun Luofeng before. Why are you here? Why can't I? Elder Gray Robe glanced at the South Continent's lord and sneered. I did make a mistake, but I also helped in times of need. Grandpa Jun was grateful to the Holy Maiden tribe, so he invited us. I'm not like you who came uninvited and refused to leave. I have never seen someone as shameless as you in my life. You really want to leave us in the lurch? The South Continent's lord's face turned ugly. We are all from the 7 continents. The spirit god continent has gone too far, and you want me to die? Elder Gray Robe was stunned by the South Continent's lord's shamelessness. Took him a while to recover. The one who wanted to attack the Yun family was also from the spirit god continent. So why are you leaving them in the lurch? This is not the same. The Yun family is not from the 7 continents. Why should I save them? Besides, the Qin family from the spirit god continent only wanted to attack the Yun family. This is their personal grudge. Why should we save them? The South Continent's lord's eyes darkened. Now, the spirit god continent wants to destroy our entire wind cloud continent. How can this be compared to what happened before? What else can I say if you think so? Elder Grey Robe thought that he could not argue with the South Continent's lord. He was too lazy to argue with him. However, the Jun family is the Yun family's relative. Why should they protect you? Besides, the gray-clothed elder looked down and sneered. Let me tell you something. Why did the spirit god continent fail to kill the Jun family's people? That's because the second young master of the Yun family, Yun Qingya, came out to fight the enemy. That's why the enemy was driven away. Now that the spirit god continent had come to the 7 continents, they would definitely not let Yun Luofeng's family off. At that time, the spirit god continent had sent a divine lord over, but he had been beaten away by Yun Qingya. The continent lord in the southern continent definitely did not know about this matter. All he knew was that the Jun family was the only family that could remain unscathed under the siege of the spirit god continent. The lord of the south continent was dumbfounded for a long time before he regained his composure. He continued to quibble. If the Jun family doesn't take me in, then they will be the sinners of the continent. They will watch their compatriots die without doing anything. And since Yun Qingya and the Jun family are relatives, it's only right for her to protect me. It was only right for others to save him. If they didn't, they would be scolded by the world and go down in infamy. Even if the other party had asked for help from the South Continent, not only did he ignore them, he even chased them out of the door. The gray-clothed elder shook her head. She really did not know where this idiot got such strong confidence from. Did he think that others must protect him? Chapter 21:19. Lord of the South Continent. No matter what you think, the Jun family will never help you. With that, Elder Hui couldn't be bothered to say anything more to this idiot. He flung his sleeves and walked into the Jun family. The Lord of the South Continent's expression changed. Just as he was about to follow Elder Hui in, Elder Hui waved his hand as if he had eyes. A powerful force surged towards them. With a boom, the Lord of the South Continent took a few steps back, his expression a little awkward. Jun Lintian, come out. You can't just leave me in the lurch. Seeing that these people wouldn't let him enter the Jun family's residence, the Lord of the South Continent yelled at the top of his lungs. We're from the same continent. Can you really not save me? Lord, please save me. I really don't want to die. Towards the end, his voice softened, filled with pleading and even trembling. The Jun family was the only life-saving straw on the continent. He wanted to hold on to it, but no one would give him the chance. At that moment, Grandpa Jun's cold voice came from above the Jun family's residence. You didn't help me back then, and now you have the face to beg me? I'll give you one chance. Leave immediately. Otherwise, I'll kill you before the people from Spirit God Continent arrive. The old man's voice was majestic and domineering. Even though he hadn't seen the person, the voice alone was enough to make his heart tremble. It was as if a huge mountain was pressing down on him, making it hard for him to breathe. This time, the Lord of the South Continent didn't dare to stay any longer. He left in the direction he came from. He understood that what happened that day was a mistake he would never be able to make up for in his life. Grandpa. He's gone. Jun Linger walked up to Jun Lintian and pursed her thin lips. Do you think we can really fight against those powerhouses from Spirit God Continent? We have to believe in your second uncle's strength. He's the only divine lord here, so he'll definitely protect us. However, we need to be prepared. This battle might be a long one. Jun Lintian sighed softly. No matter how strong Yun Qingya was, she was alone. There were many powerhouses on Spirit God Continent. To be honest, he didn't have much of a chance of winning. If only Sister Yun was here. Sister Yun is so powerful. She can definitely deal with those enemies. "Old man, it's bad. It's bad." Suddenly, a panicked voice came from outside. "The people from the spirit god continent are here again. They're clearly stronger than the ones from last time." "What?" Jun Lintian's heart almost stopped beating. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but found that he couldn't find the words. At this moment, Yun Qingya slowly walked in from outside the door. He stood with his hands behind his back, his face elegant. "Old Master Jun, in this Jun city, other than the Jun family, there are still many commoners. I don't want to have so many casualties, so I plan to go outside the city gates to meet the enemy. As for the mission of protecting the safety of these commoners, I'll leave it to you." Yun Qingya was born in a family of generals. Unlike Yun Luofeng, he would place the lives of the people in his heart. Of course, he was not a saint. He would never protect someone like the continent lord of the South Continent. "Are you going to face the enemy alone?" Jun Lintian looked at Yun Qingya in surprise, his heart filled with worry. Chapter 21:20. "I checked the situation just now. Those people have split into several groups. From the looks of it, there will be a few divine lords mixed in with them. Other than these people, there will be experts attacking from the west, south, and north of the city. You have to send people to defend them. Leave some people in the city to protect the residents." Yun Qingya's voice was very cold as she said slowly. Old Master Jun gritted his teeth. "All right, then we'll do as you say. I'll take care of the other 3 cities. You must stop those divine lords. Otherwise, our spirit continent will also face a calamity." Yun Qingya looked at the people behind her, turned around, and walked towards the door. "Big brother Yun." Ning Xian quickly took 2 steps forward with a determined expression. "I'll go with you." Yun Qingya pondered for a moment. Ever since he had consumed the dragon saliva fruit, Ning Xian's strength had increased by quite a bit. Therefore, he nodded slightly in agreement. "All right, let's go together." Ning Xian smiled. This smile was very beautiful, so beautiful that it was like a lotus blooming in this place. As long as she could be with the man she loved, so what if she died? She would never be afraid. "Father, mother." Yun Ruoshui's eyes reddened. She wanted to hold Ning Xian's hand and looked at her with grievance. "Shu'er also wants to be with you." Ning Xian's expression softened. She caressed Yun Ruoshui's head and said warmly, "Shu'er, stay in the city obediently. Father and mother will be back soon." Yun Ruoshui's heart tightened. How could she not know the danger they were facing this time? Thus, her large eyes were filled with worry. "Will you really come back?" "Definitely." Ning Xian raised her hand and rubbed Yun Ruoshui's head. She slowly stood up and looked at Yun Qingya, who was standing in front of her. "Let's go." "All right." Yun Qingya smiled. Before he left, his loving gaze fell on little Ruoshui's young and tender face. "Shu'er, Father promises you that we will definitely return safely. The premise is that you have to listen to your grandfather obediently. Understand?" Yun Ruoshui nodded firmly. "Shu'er will be very obedient. You are not allowed to lie to Shu'er. Otherwise, Shu'er will never forgive you." It was as if the determination on Yun Ruoshui's face had caused Ning Xian's heart to ache. In the end, she had forced herself to harden her heart and walk out. After the 2 of them left, Yun Ruoshui's tears finally flowed uncontrollably, and her face was full of tear stains. "Father, mother, Shu'er will wait for your return." Outside the city gate, there was an austere atmosphere. Yun Qingya looked at the experts descending from the sky, then her gaze fell on the man she had fought with before. "He's just a defeated opponent. Yet he dares to start over? Last time I underestimated you. This time you will die." The long-robed man's face was cold and his voice carried a strong killing intent. "So what if you found some helpers?" Yun Qingya took 2 steps forward and separated her feet. Like a huge mountain, she blocked the city gate. "I, Yun Qingya, have the bloodline of the Yun family, a family of generals. Today, as long as I still have my lofty and unyielding character, I won't allow you to harm other innocent people." He was born in a general's family, so he naturally had a proud and unyielding character. He would rather die than retreat. It was fine even if he had to give up his life to protect the city gate behind him. Ha ha ha! The long-robed man laughed mockingly. Then I want to see what kind of ability you will use to stop me. And what will you use to defend the people behind you? Chapter 21-21. Boom! At that moment, the few divine monarchs in the sect also stood up. A powerful aura spread out and swept towards Yun Qingya like an earth-shattering wave. Yun Qingya remained as motionless as a mountain. His expression did not change. His expression was very cold, and his face seemed to be shrouded in a layer of cold light. Second brother. At this moment, a voice suddenly rang out from the sky. When Yun Qingya turned her head, she saw Bai Ling's figure appear in front of him. Sister-in-law, you're back? Yun Qingya was overjoyed as she said. Bai Ling's figure descended from the sky and stood beside Yun Qingya. She turned her head to look at the group of people behind her, and the corners of her lips curled up slightly. I heard about the difficulties of the 7 continents, so I brought the people of the Wind and Cloud continent to help. These people should be from the Spirit God continent. When did the Spirit God continent have so many divine monarchs? In reality, the divine monarchs of the Spirit God continent were not as many as they knew. Even Qin Yuan, the son of the Qin family of the Spirit God continent, only knew of the existence of a few divine monarchs. On the contrary, there were many divine monarchs who hid in the world and did not appear in front of others. As time passed, those people would not know of their existence. Sister-in-law, let's not worry about that for now. Let's stop these people first and not let them enter the city gate. Inside the city gate, there were not only innocent residents, but also the people they wanted to protect. All right, second brother, sister-in-law. Then let's work together to repel the enemy. Bai Ling smiled slightly, looking at the group of people with eyes filled with killing intent. At the same time, the enemies at the other 3 city gates also attacked. With Old Man Jun leading the way, it was relatively easy to defend the west gate. Even if it was not easy to defend the other 2 city gates, they still used their iron-blooded bodies to block the attacking crowd. Right now, no one in the Spirit continent knew that this defensive battle had lasted for a few months. Within a few months, both sides had suffered heavy losses, and they were unable to determine the victor. Even so, everyone was still persevering, causing the entire Spirit continent to be shrouded in a bloody mist. No return continent. Endless city. Within the spacious room, Yun Luofeng placed down the last stone. At that moment, a powerful spiritual energy flowed within the stone. The spiritual energy connected and formed a prison cell. Yun Xiao, my formation is complete. Now, let's think of a way to let the 9-winged sky dragon in. Yun Luofeng wiped away the cold sweat on her forehead. After so many months, her array formation was finally completed. Get out of my way first. After saying that, Yun Luofeng added another sentence. Yun Xiao obediently took a few steps back. His eyes had never left Yun Luofeng since the beginning. His gaze had always been on her, and he had always been vigilant towards the movements in his surroundings. In these few months, Yun Luofeng had not only set up the array, but also figured out why the 9-winged sky dragon could not enter the room. Therefore, under Yun Xiao's gaze, Yun Luofeng slowly walked towards a rock on the altar. This stone was very big, and it was navy blue in color. It looked eerie and terrifying. Yun Xiao smashed the stone. After smashing it, immediately hide behind the array. After Yun Luofeng scanned the stone, he had already taken the lead and walked behind the array. I'm still writing. Chapter 21-22. At the same time, Yun Xiao's body leaped forward, and his hard fist smashed into the stone with a loud bang. In an instant, the stone shattered under his power and drifted into the air. The moment the stone was destroyed, a powerful force was sent out. The force was very strong, and it quickly swept across the room. Seeing that Yun Luofeng was also within the range of the impact, Yun Xiao's heart was in her throat. She used her fastest speed to rush toward her. But before Yun Xiao could reach Yun Luofeng, the little lowly Yun Chutian quickly blocked Yun Luofeng's way. Her big eyes were red with anger. Don't bully mother and little brother. Her words were a little unclear. like a child who had just started learning to speak. Her voice was a little stuttering. However, she still revealed her thoughts. She wanted to protect Yun Luofeng and the little brother in her stomach. Boom! When the impact reached Yun Chuyan's face, it suddenly dissipated. Yes, it dissipated. That force only lifted Yun Luofeng's sleeves. It didn't even injure him in the slightest. Feng. Yun Xiao was so frightened that she pulled Yun Luofeng into her arms and hugged her tightly. Sorry. I shouldn't have been so far away from you just now. Yun Xiao, it's not your fault. I was the one who asked you to destroy the stone. Moreover, in this place only you can destroy it. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile like a flower. Boom! The nine-winged sky dragon fiercely slammed into the barrier that was blocking him. This time, the barrier didn't bounce him back. Instead, it instantly shattered and immediately rushed into the room. Roar! It roared angrily and rushed toward Yun Chutian, who was beside Yun Luofeng. Yun Chutian buried her body in Yun Luofeng's arms and pulled her sleeve tightly. Her big eyes were very innocent and spirited. It was as if she wasn't afraid of anything as long as she was beside Yun Luofeng. When the nine-winged sky dragon rushed over, the array was also activated. A giant cage rose from the ground and trapped him inside. Roar! The nine-winged sky dragon became even more irritable as it slammed into the giant cage with all its might. However, its strength had dissipated by the time it reached the giant cage, and it could not exert any strength at all. Yun Luofeng no longer looked at the nine-winged sky dragon. She lowered her head and looked at Yun Chutian. Tian, tell me, who taught you to speak? In the past few months, she and Yun Xiao had been busy setting up the array formation, so no one had communicated with Yun Chutian. How could she suddenly speak? Yun Chutian blinked his big, ignorant eyes and pointed at Yun Luofeng's stomach. Little brother gave it to me. Yun Luofeng was stunned for a moment. He lowered his head to look at his stomach, then turned his gaze to Yun Chutian. Tian, tell me honestly, who taught you? Seeing that Yun Luofeng didn't believe him, Yun Chutian felt wronged. It was really little brother who taught me. He also told me that you're my mother. He also said that after he comes out, he'll forget the memories of his previous life and asked me to protect him. Memories from his past life? Yun Luofeng felt that something was wrong, and doubt flashed in his eyes. Then can you tell me how you communicate? Little brother and I can communicate telepathically. I can hear what he says. At first, Yun Chuyan's speech was not fluent, but it became more fluent as time went on. His big eyes were filled with an innocent light as he looked at Yun Luofeng without blinking. Chapter 21-23. Yun Luofeng muttered to himself. It seemed that this little girl was not simple. Furthermore, she was inextricably linked to her child. However, what made Yun Luofeng even more confused was what Yun Chuyan's previous life memory was all about. Suddenly, a name flashed through Yun Luofeng's mind. When she thought of that name, she immediately gritted her teeth in hatred. We've been tricked by Songji. Back then, she got pregnant in Songji's wooden hut using the method that Songji gave her. She did not think too much about it back then. Now that she thought about it, perhaps it was all part of that bastard's plan. Good. Very good. Since Songji dared to scheme against her, then he could not blame her for being ruthless. Tian, do you like little brother? Yun Luofeng looked at Yun Chutian with a smile and asked. Yun Chutian blinked. Tian likes little brother. Okay. Then when the time comes, mother will ask you to do one thing. Yun Luofeng's eyes flashed. In our Yun family, we only ask for one person for a lifetime. When little brother is born, help mother look after him. Don't let him harm innocent girls. Songji was such a womanizer. To put an end to his womanizing would be even harder than taking his life. More importantly, as her and Yun Zhao's son, he could not be so womanizing. Yun Chutian nodded, not fully understanding. Tian, listen to mother. Look after little brother and don't let him harm anyone. Okay. Yun Luofeng curled the corners of her lips. However, at this moment, her stomach ached and she could not help but cover it tightly. Fenger, what's wrong? Seeing the cold sweat on Yun Luofeng's forehead, Yun Zhao's expression suddenly became nervous. His eyes were filled with worry. He was afraid that Yun Luofeng was accidentally hurt by the shockwave just now. "It's nothing. I think I'm going to give birth," Yun Luofeng said through gritted teeth. Yun Zhao was stunned. Giving birth? "Feng what should I do?" All these years, no matter what Yun Zhao did, he had always maintained a calm and composed appearance. That grim expression of his had never once changed. But at this moment, this powerful man, who held the entire world in his hands, felt a sense of helplessness. "Go prepare some hot water. I need to wash up later." Yun Luofeng felt her stomach twitch. Her face was pale from the pain. Seeing Yun Luofeng in this state, how could Yun Zhao leave? He held Yun Luofeng's hand, his gaze sweeping over to Yun Yi, who was standing to the side. "Go prepare some hot water." Yun Yi left after receiving the order. Yun Zhao tightly held onto Yun Luofeng's hand. "Feng I will be by your side. Forever." It seemed that Yun Zhao's words had comforted Yun Luofeng, causing her expression to gradually calm down. Her lips curled into a smile as she said, "Shower? I'm fine. Give our son a name first." "Name? I've already thought of it. He'll be called Yun Yanfeng." Yun Yanfeng. These 3 words filled Yun Luofeng's face with warmth. She felt the pain in her lower body, as if all the strength had been sucked out. Hence, at this moment, she could not answer Yun Zhao's question. Instead, she took out a piece of blood ginseng from her space and bit it. Only then did she feel her strength gradually recovering. This time, she gave birth for 3 days and 3 nights. She didn't know if it was because the child was special or if there were other reasons. But Yun Luofeng used many methods during the process, but she still couldn't give birth to the child. Because of this, Yun Zhao's eyes turned red with anxiety. His heart had long been dissatisfied with his unborn son. And after 3 days, the sound of crying resounded in this empty room. Chapter 21-24. Little brother. Yun Chutian ran to Yun Luofeng with her short legs. She blinked her big eyes and looked at the baby in Yun Luofeng's arms. Her smile was as bright as a beautiful flower. "Mother, Tianer likes little brother." "Yes." Yun Luofeng's eyes flickered. She noticed Yun Chutian's gaze and said, "Then I'll betroth little brother to you and let him be your child bride. What do you think?" "What's a child bride?" Yun Chutian looked at Yun Luofeng curiously and asked in confusion. "A child bride is just like your father and I. We'll never be separated in this lifetime and are the most important person in each other's lives." Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a sinister smile. Song Ji schemed against her, so she also schemed against Song Ji's entire life. "Okay." Yun Chutian clapped and smiled. Tianer wants to be little brother's child bride and become the second most important person in little brother's life. The second? What about the first one? The first one is mother. Yun Chutian nestled in Yun Luofeng's arms and smiled innocently. When little brother was in mother's stomach, he told Tianer that mother was the most important person to him and asked Tianer to protect mother. He also said that if Tianer did it, then he would make Tianer one of his women. "Mother, what does little brother mean by that?" Yun Luofeng was touched when she heard the first part of the sentence. She was even more hesitant about whether she had gone too far. But Yun Chutian's next words, however, made her face darken. "You must remember, in the future, you will not allow little brother to flirt with innocent girls. If he dares to harm those innocent girls, beat him up for me." Yun Chutian blinked her eyes as if she understood. She did not know what mother meant by that, however. She understood that what her mother said was correct. "Yun Zhao, the 9-winged sky dragon, has been locked up. Let's leave now." Yun Luofeng persevered and stood up. In his arms was a tender baby, and his hand was holding Yun Chutian's. Originally, the newborn child was wrinkled, but the little guy in her arms was very pink and cute. Yun Luofeng couldn't help but stretch out her finger to touch his face, making her fingertips feel very elastic. The little fellow had not opened his eyes, but he could feel Yun Luofeng's fingers. A pair of short arms flailed wildly in the air, trying to grab onto those fingers that were touching him. You just gave birth, you need to rest. Yun Xiao frowned, her eyes filled with worry. I'm fine. Yun Luofeng shook his head, his voice calm. No. Yun Xiao raised her hand and took the little fellow from Yun Luofeng's arms and said very firmly, I heard that after a woman gives birth, she can't get out of bed for a month. So, let's return to the divine grimoire space first, and wait for a month before we leave. As for other matters, Yun Xiao could rely on Yun Luofeng for everything. But he also had moments of decisiveness. For the sake of Yun Luofeng's health, he would not allow her to run around in exhaustion at this time. Feng if you suffer even the slightest injury, I will never be able to forgive myself. Yun Luofeng glanced at Yun Xiao. I'm a doctor. That won't do. Yun Xiao was very determined. It was rare for Yun Luofeng to see such a determined Yun Xiao. She shrugged her shoulders rather helplessly. Okay. Then I'll wait for a month before leaving. Is that okay? Chapter 21-25. 7 Continents. Outside the gates of June City, in the sky, Yun Qingya stood in front of the group of experts. A cold and austere aura made the man's face look a little more grim and less indifferent. Second brother. Bai Ling stood in front of Yun Qingya. This battle has already lasted for a few months. If this goes on, it won't be a solution. We must finish off the enemy as soon as possible. This battle had already lasted for several months. More and more experts from the spirit god continent had come to the 7 continents. Even she was starting to feel a little powerless, however. On the other side of the spirit god continent, not far away, many people had joined the battle. Yun Qingya looked at the city gate that he was protecting behind him, and her eyes turned slightly cold. No matter what, we must persevere. Yun Qingya's voice was very cold. When he looked at Ning Exan, his eyes softened. Exaner, are you afraid? Ning Exan firmly shook her head. From the moment I followed you, I have already disregarded life and death. With you accompanying me in this life, it is enough. As long as she could be with him, she would have no regrets even if she died. All right. Yun Qingya retracted her gaze and once again faced the group of enemies in front of her. As she took a step forward, a cold and awe-inspiring aura spread out. The man stood in the air, ink flying in the air. His handsome face was expressionless as he coldly looked at the enemies in front of him. I still have the same words. If you want to enter June City, you must step over my, Yun Qingya's, corpse. When the experts on the other side heard Yun Qingya's voice, they all laughed out loud and quickly rushed towards Yun Qingya. Just him alone wanted to stop them? This was truly an idiot's dream. Bai Ling and Ning Exan stood beside Yun Qingya, one on the left and one on the right. At this moment, everyone was determined to die. At this moment, a familiar voice suddenly came from the air. This voice was filled with surprise as it slowly sounded in Yun Qingya's ears. Fenger's second uncle, what happened here? Where are my father and the others? Within the void, 2 figures gradually appeared. The woman was dressed in a red robe that could topple a city. She looked valiant and formidable, while the man standing next to her had a gentle face, like a spring breeze. You're back? When Yun Qingya saw the 2 people in the sky, a ray of light shot out from her cold eyes. Ever since Yun Luofeng had left, he had gone to look for Jun Fengling and Yi Jingchen. However, he had not been able to find their whereabouts. He had not expected that they would actually appear now. Second brother, these 2 are? Bai Ling asked curiously as she looked at the man and woman descending from the sky. Sister-in-law, they are Shower's parents. Yun Qingya's heart slowly relaxed. You guys came at the right time. Fenger left me 2 dragon saliva fruits. These dragon saliva fruits are also prepared for you guys. After you eat them, you can help me fight. Sister-in-law? Jun Fengling noticed the way Yun Qingya addressed Bai Ling. She raised her eyebrows and swept her gaze across Bai Ling's face. When she saw the face that was similar to Yun Luofeng's, a hint of surprise appeared in her eyes. Didn't Fenger's mother pass away? Why would she still appear here? Of course, Jun Fengling also understood that this was not the time to ask about these things. She turned her gaze to Yun Qingya and asked, What is the dragon saliva fruit you're talking about? There's not much time left. I don't have time to explain it to you. Yun Qingya handed the dragon saliva fruit to the two of them. This is the dragon saliva fruit that Fenger left behind. If there's anything else, I'll tell you after the battle is over. Chapter 21-26. All right. Jun Fengling trusted the Yun family and did not ask too many questions. She took the ambergris fruit and took a bite. Her mouth was filled with sweetness. At the same time, with a loud boom, a storm spiraled above her head. Not long after, heavenly lightning was born and struck down like a bolt of lightning. When Yun Qingya and the others broke through, they had the help of azure wings, which allowed them to easily pass the lightning tribulation. However, at this moment, Azure Wings was not in Jun City. Jun Fengling and Yi Jingchen could only rely on their own bodies to resist the lightning tribulation in the void. The lightning tribulation lasted for a long time in the sky above Jun City, causing the residents of the city to be extremely shocked. However, they still hid in their houses and did not dare to come out, afraid that they would be affected by the battle. Outside West City, Grandpa Jun and Hongling were also struggling to hold on. The few months of battle had almost exhausted them. If they did not deal with these people soon, they might not be able to defend West City. Grandpa, do you still have the spiritual medicine that Miss Yun left behind? Hongling asked with a pale face as he wiped the sweat off his forehead. I used it all yesterday. Jun Lintian laughed bitterly. East Continent's Lord, I asked you to come to Jun City to protect you. I didn't expect that I would need you to help me fend off these foreign enemies. Hongling smiled disapprovingly. I also obtained the ambergris fruit from Miss Yun. I can't just sit back and do nothing. Furthermore, his daughter was already dead, and this world didn't hold much attraction for him. If he could die on the battlefield, wouldn't it be a relief to him? Facing the menacing cultivators, Hongling gently closed his eyes. After a long time, he opened his eyes again. In the azure sky, it was as if Hong Luan's peerless figure had appeared. However, the figure was getting closer and closer. It was as if it could appear in front of him in the blink of an eye, and it was so real. Hongling fiercely rubbed her eyes and forcefully opened them once again. However, she suddenly discovered that a red figure was right in front of her. That absolutely stunning figure caused the corners of Hongling's mouth to rise into a bitter smile. It looks like I really miss Luaner too much. I can actually see an illusion. I wonder when Luaner will come and pick me up. Grandpa Jun also saw the enchanting figure in red. He rubbed his eyes filled with astonishment. You are fantasizing because you miss Hong Luan too much. But what about me? Too guilty? In addition to her fantasies, Hongling also heard a woman's soft murmur. Father, I'm back. Father, I'm back. Hongling opened his mouth and a tear rolled down from the corner of his eye. His lips curled into a bitter smile. If this is a dream, then I am willing to never wake up from this dream. In this way, his daughter would always be by his side, never to be separated. Boom! At this moment, the experts of Spirit God Continent had already launched their attacks. Rapidly arriving in front of Hongling, Hongling's gaze was fixed on the dreamlike figure in front of her. From beginning to end, she was unable to come back to her senses. Jun Lintian's sharp eyes caught sight of Hongling in danger and he turned pale with fright. East Continent Lord, watch out! Unfortunately, it was too late. Hongling looked at the incoming attacks and laughed. His laughter was filled with tears and it was incomparably miserable. Luan it's great that I can see you before I die. Chapter 21-27. Hongling believed that he was able to see Hong Luan's illusion because his death was near and his daughter had come to take him away. However, just as the enemy's attack was about to reach him, the woman who had been standing in front of him suddenly moved. With a casual kick, she sent the attacking expert flying. With a loud crash, he fell into the crowd. Hongling was stunned. Jun Lintian was dumbfounded. Everyone else stopped what they were doing and stared at the beautiful woman in blood-red robes in astonishment. Luaner. Hongling stared at the woman in front of him. Luaner was already dead, and her corpse was in Yun Luofeng's hands. How could she possibly be here? This must be an illusion, it must be. Hong Ling's body trembled uncontrollably as he thought this. He reached out to touch Hong Luan's face. Hong Luan grabbed Hong Ling's hand and placed his coarse fingers on her face. The warmth caused Hong Ling's fingers to stiffen. There's a touch and warmth. This isn't an illusion. It's the real Luan. At that moment, Hong Luan could no longer control his emotions. He opened his arms and pulled Hong Luan tightly into his embrace as he sobbed. You're back, you're finally back. No one knew how he had managed to continue living after his daughter's death. If it had not been for the fact that he could not let go of the East Continent, he would have followed her. Father, I'm back. Hong Luan allowed Hong Ling to hug her tightly as her lips curled into a smile and she spoke gently. Jun Lintian blinked in disbelief as he stared at Hong Luan's beautiful face in astonishment. Miss Hong Luan, what's going on? I'll explain once I've dealt with everyone here. Hong Luan raised his brows and turned to look at the group of cultivators behind him. If my guess is correct, you're all from the spirit god continent. You've killed me and now you're trying to enter the 7 continents. Hong Luan, you'll never be able to leave this place alive. Apart from the East and West districts, the South and North districts were also in danger. There were too many experts from the spirit god continent, and they kept coming. Even the divine sovereigns had sent a few more, which made it difficult for everyone to deal with them. However, when the southern city was in danger, Nangong Uni suddenly appeared. He was like a deity that descended from the heavens and defended the southern city that was about to fall. Huang Yingying and the others were originally guarding the southern part of the city. Now that she saw Nangong Uni appear out of thin air, a trace of surprise appeared in her eyes. Moreover, in the short span of a year, Nangong Uni's strength had actually changed so much. Young Master Nangong Yu. Huang Yingying wanted to say something, but she could not find the words. In reality, Huang Yingying was very grateful to Nangong Uni. If it weren't for Nangong Uni's guidance, she wouldn't have been able to avenge her parents, let alone become Yun Luofeng's subordinate. What's the situation with the other city gates? Nangong Uni's voice was indifferent, his expression indifferent. That playful young man had unknowingly become a person who could take charge of things on his own. I'm not too sure. Nangong Uni pondered for a moment before he said, Continue to guard the city gates. I'll go take a look at the other places. As soon as he finished speaking, Nangong Uni's faintly discernible figure disappeared. Chapter 21-28. Inside the city gate, on the quiet street, Yun Ruoxue looked behind her carefully. Seeing that no one had noticed her, she walked toward the city gate cautiously. By the way, which gate are Daddy and Mommy guarding? Yun Ruoxue lightly touched her forehead. With her poor memory, she had even forgotten where her parents had gone to guard the city gates. Forget it, I'll just look for a random gate. If it's not for Daddy and Mommy, I'll leave then. The corners of Yun Ruoxue's lips curved into a bright smile. But when she thought about how long this battle had been going on, her heart was filled with worry. Daddy, Mommy, I hope you don't blame me. I've already waited for you for a few months. Although Grandpa said that you wouldn't be in danger, I'm still worried. Yun Ruoxue bit her lip, her eyes filled with tears. But don't worry, I'll just sneak a peek. Once I see that you're safe, I'll leave. I won't be a burden to you. At this thought, Yun Ruoxue walked toward the street in front of her. She was heading in the direction of the north gate. The person guarding the north gate was the head of the Jun family, Jun Xian. He was struggling to deal with the enemies when he suddenly saw Yun Ruoxue sneaking out from the city gate. He was so shocked that his heart almost skipped a beat. Yun Ruoxue's eyes flashed with disappointment when she saw that it wasn't Yun Qingya and her husband guarding the north gate. She pursed her lips and said, Uncle Jun Xian, do you know where my parents are? I haven't seen them for a few months. I'm very worried about them. In the beginning, Yun Ruoxue had listened to Yun Qingya and her husband and waited obediently at the Jun residence. But she was still a child, and her parents had been fighting for months. How could she not be worried? So she sneaked out when no one was paying attention. Of course, she would definitely be punished when she returned. But so what? As long as she could be sure that her parents were safe, she was willing to be beaten up. Shui, hurry up and leave. Jun Xian shouted hurriedly. This is not a place for you to stay, especially where your parents are. You can't go. Uncle Jun Xian, tell me where Daddy and Mommy are. I'll just look at them from afar. Yun Ruoshui's eyes were filled with a pitiful light as she bit her lip and looked at Jun Xian. Just as Jun Xian was about to speak, he saw an elder not far away casually throw out a beam of light, which directly attacked Yun Ruoshui. Yun Ruoshui was still young, and she had thought that she would be safe if she hid behind the city gates. Little did she know that the battle between these experts did not care about distance. Therefore, Yun Ruoshui blinked as she stared at the sword light that had suddenly attacked her. For a moment, she was unable to react, and she even forgot to dodge. It was only when she was pulled into a warm embrace that she came back to her senses in a daze. The youth hugged Yun Ruoshui's body tightly and dodged to the side, avoiding the attack. His back was already drenched in sweat, and fear filled his heart. He didn't dare to imagine that if he had returned a step later, would he have been unable to see this little girl again? Brother Wuyen, you're back? Yun Ruoshui giggled as she looked at the youth behind her. She seemed to be naturally slow-witted, and even the grave danger that had just occurred had been thrown to the back of her mind. Chapter 21-29. Shui. Chung Wuyen roared angrily. Do you know that you almost died just now? Yun Ruoshui blinked her big innocent eyes. I knew that Brother Wuyen would definitely appear and save me. Shui believes in you. You! Chung Wuyen was so angry that he did not know what to say. He looked at the innocent and ignorant little girl in front of him and could not even reprimand her. Yun Ruoshui, did I owe you in my previous life? You won't be satisfied until you scare me to death, right? Chung Wuyen was gnashing his teeth in anger. He really owed this lass a lot in this lifetime? Brother Wuyen? Yun Ruoshui wrapped her arms around Chung Wuyen's neck, a bright smile blossoming on her innocent little face. You're right. You owe me in your past life. That's why Shu'er wants to pester you. Although the young girl had not fully developed, her small body already had a faint fragrance. As the young girl approached, that faint fragrance also rushed into the tip of his nose. With a loud bang, Chung Wuyen felt as if his head was about to explode. A crimson blush flashed across his face and he hurriedly coughed twice to demonstrate his awkwardness. You go and stay here first. I've brought some people with me to settle this matter. Chung Wuyen gently pursed his lips and said to the sky, Long Yen, I'll have to trouble you to settle these people. Roar! A dragon's roar rang out and not long after, Long Yan's huge body appeared in the void. That's right. The expert from the ancestral dragon clan who had come this time was Long Yan, who was ranked second in the ancestral dragon clan. He was also the dragon who had a dispute with Yun Luofeng. When Yun Luofeng left the spirit god continent, he told Chung Wuyen that he could seek help from the dragon clan if needed. When Chung Wuyen heard that the spirit god continent had joined forces to besiege the 7 continents, he immediately made a trip to the ancestral dragon clan. The ancestral dragon clan attached great importance to this matter, so the dragon clan leader sent Long Yan here. Under Long Yan's attack, the group of experts from the spirit god continent had long been defeated. After a while, they fell on the street in front of the city gate. The numerous corpses piled up into a small hill and the entire sky was dyed red with blood. Brother Wuyen, I'm going to look for my parents. Yun Ruoshui clung onto Chung Wuyen's body, her large eyes filled with worry. A few months ago, these people from the spirit god continent attacked the 7 continents. Father and mother also personally went to stop them. Now that a few months have passed, Shu'er is very worried about them. Where are your parents? Hearing this, Yun Ruoshui turned to look at Jun Xian. Uncle Jun Xian, can you tell me where my parents are now? Jun Xian glanced at Chung Wuyen before looking at the giant dragon hovering in the void. He nodded gently and said, They are in the eastern part of the city. Apart from the north city, the other city gates also had their victors. Due to the return of Jun Fengling and Yi Jingqin in the eastern city, and as Yun Luofeng had expected, they had used the power of the dragon saliva fruit to break through to the divine monarch level. Therefore, the divine monarchs of the spirit god continent were quickly defeated. In the western part of the city was Hong Luan. Under Hong Luan's bloodlust, these people had no chance of escaping. Very soon, they all fell into a pool of blood. As for the southern city, the people who had besieged the southern city were not very strong. When Nangong Yuni appeared, he killed the strongest few of them. It would not be a problem to leave the rest to the sacred maiden tribe. Chapter 21:30. At this moment, in the western part of the city, Nangong Yuni had just arrived when he saw the woman chatting cheerfully with Hong Ling. His eyes widened and he rubbed them in disbelief. This, Hong Luan? He was not mistaken. Was it really Hong Luan? For a moment, Nangong Yuni stopped in his tracks. He wanted to step forward a few times, but he did not have the courage. He could only stare blankly at her from a distance. He seemed to be afraid that, if he took another step forward, Hong Luan would disappear. Hong Luan seemed to sense Nangong Yuni's gaze. She turned to look at the handsome man who had appeared next to her, and a smile appeared on her peerless face. Nangong Yuni, long time no see. Don't you recognize me? The woman's voice was very familiar. It was the same as before, and it made Nangong Yuni feel as if he had first met her. All sorts of feelings welled up in his heart at this moment. Agitation, excitement, or perhaps, an indescribable feeling attacked his entire heart. Hong Luan, you're still alive? She was still alive? Was he dreaming? Hong Ling returned to her senses and asked, Luaner, can you tell me what's going on? You're clearly dead and your corpse is with Miss Yun. Why are you here now? It's a long story. Hong Luan smiled. Back then, I really did die. I even went to the underworld. The underworld? Hong Ling was stunned. The underworld really existed? Originally, those who enter the underworld after death are unable to leave the underworld for the rest of their lives. If they appear on the mainland, their souls will immediately scatter. Hong Luan glanced at Hong Ling and continued. Hong Ling returned to her senses. Then why are you? Why can you still appear here? Father, no matter what kind of rules it is, as long as you have great power, you can break them. Hong Luan's expression was very serious. I was lucky and obtained a great opportunity. That was how I obtained great power in a short period of time. That was how I was able to break the rules of the heavenly way and return to the mainland. In other words, the current Hong Luan was still only a spiritual body. It was only because of her control over power that she was able to appear in a physical form. There was only one way to completely resurrect, and that was to resurrect through a well-preserved corpse. Miss Hong Luan, Grandpa Jun became excited. You said that a person can go to the netherworld after death? Then, can my deceased wife also be found in the netherworld? Hong Luan was startled. She remained silent for a long while. She seemed to be unable to bear it, but she still answered truthfully. The underworld is much more savage than the 7 continents. Large-scale massacres are frequent. Old Madame June has passed away for so many years. I can't guarantee that she's still in the underworld. Hearing that, Grandpa June sighed and smiled bitterly. Actually, I also know that this is just an extravagant hope of mine. So what if she is still in the netherworld? I can't get in and she can't get out. The separation of yin and yang was so cruel. The experts who came to attack the West City have been slaughtered. Let's go and help the people at the other city gates, Grandpa June said solemnly as he gradually regained his composure. Nangong Yuni finally retracted his gaze from Hong Luan and looked at Grandpa June. I passed by the North City on my way here. The North City is no longer a problem. You don't need to go anymore. There's still the East City and the South City, Grandpa June said with a frown. Especially the East City. I'm afraid Yun Qingya won't be able to defend it. Chapter 21:31. Just as Old Master June finished speaking, he saw Yun Qingya and Ning Xian walking over hand in hand. His heart was finally at ease. The appearance of Yun Qingya here was also an indirect proof that the East City was already safe, however. Jun Lintian soon saw Jun Fengling and his wife behind Yun Qingya. His eyes widened and his tone became excited. Linger, you're back? In fact, Old Master June had sensed that someone was breaking through. However, he did not think that it was Jun Fengling. He thought that someone from Spirit God Continent had broken through. Now that he saw Jun Fengling and his wife, he suddenly realized something. Before Yun Qingya left, she said that Ling and his wife were extremely talented. If they consumed the dragon saliva fruit, they would definitely break through to Divine Emperor. Old Master Jun returned just now. He was worried about you, so he asked us to come and take a look. Now that the enemies have been slaughtered, Spirit Continent is finally safe. Hearing this voice, everyone present breathed a sigh of relief. Yun Qingya's gaze was originally on Jun Lintian, so she did not notice Hong Luan's presence. Now, when she turned her gaze, she saw Hong Luan and was completely stunned. Miss Hong Luan? Was he sure he wasn't seeing things? Why would Miss Hong Luan appear here? It's a long story. Let's go back and talk about it slowly. Jun Lintian sighed. Yun Qingya and Xiao have been gone for so long. I wonder when they will return. However, fortunately, after Yun Luofeng and the others did not return, they protected this pure land. Father, I heard about what happened here from Feng'er's uncle. Let's go back and talk about it. That bastard dared to invade the 7 continents. We cannot sit still and wait for death. A cold glint flashed across Jun Fengling's eyes. Her gaze became colder and colder, faintly containing a strong storm. All right, let's go back and talk about how to take revenge on those people. He, Jun Lintian, was not that easy to deal with. If they dared to invade, they must be prepared to receive revenge. Spirit God Continent. Yutian paced back and forth anxiously, looking very unhappy. Right at this time, several old men descended from the sky and slowly walked towards Yutian. Yutian, why did you call us here in such a hurry? The one who asked this question was a green-robed old man. He had an impatient expression on his face. Perhaps he was unhappy with Yutian for disturbing their seclusion. I have no other choice now, so I asked you to come. Yutian smiled bitterly. Do you still remember Zhu Qian? Zhu Qian? This name was like thunder piercing their ears, causing all of them to tremble. Some of them even revealed looks of terror, their faces faintly pale. To them, the name Zhu Qian was a nightmare. Why are you mentioning Zhu Qian now? That guy is already dead. The other gray-robed old man gritted his teeth, as if he was trying to force himself to believe that Zhu Qian had died. Furthermore, back then, Zhu Qian had suffered such heavy injuries. It was impossible for him to have survived. Zhu Qian is indeed dead. However, some time ago, I saw his reincarnation. Yutian gently closed his eyes. Originally, he didn't want to tell these old men about this. However, he had no other choice now. Chapter 21:32. Zhu Qian's reincarnation? Are you sure you're not mistaken? The last elder was dressed in a golden yellow robe. He exuded a noble and awe-inspiring aura, and there was a lifelike dragon embroidered on his sleeves. His originally expressionless face began to change as Yutian spoke. There's no way I'm mistaken. That's Zhu Qian's reincarnation. Yutian lowered his eyes as the man's figure appeared in his mind. He gritted his teeth and said, although his personality has changed drastically, I can still recognize him even if he turns into ashes. However, you can rest assured that Zhu Qian's strength isn't as good as before. There's no need to be afraid. The few old men were stunned and stared at Yutian suspiciously. If that's the case, why did you bring us here? Zhu Qian isn't in any danger. But Yutian's lips curled into a bloodthirsty murderous intent. I saw a little girl who has an extraordinary relationship with Zhu Qian. Her talent is even more terrifying than Zhu Qian's back then. If she's allowed to grow, the consequences will be unimaginable. The former Zhu Qian was already a nightmare in their hearts. Now, there was a little girl who was even more terrifying than Zhu Qian. Yutian, are you trying to deceive us? Zhu Qian's talent is already strong enough. How can there be someone stronger than him? Besides, it's just a little girl. What can she do to us? The yellow-clothed old man, Feng Yongqing, had a disdainful look on his face. He was even more disapproving of Yutian's words. Yutian smiled coldly when he saw their expressions. That little girl is only in her 20s and has already reached the ultimate god realm. Do you think Zhu Qian could reach the ultimate god realm at her age? The few old men were shocked. An ultimate god in her 20s? She's not just a genius. She's a monster. Not only that, but she can also make the Dragon Clan side with her. Just now, I sent people to the Seven Continents continent, intending to eliminate her and the people from the Seven Continents continent. Not long ago, the Dragon Clan heard the news and immediately sent that bastard Long Yen to the Seven Continents continent to help. Yu Tian's words made the few old men even more surprised. The patriarch of the ancestral Dragon Clan was an extremely arrogant person. How could he help a human girl? This was completely illogical. Moreover, the man next to this girl is also very young, but he has already reached Sir God. I feel that if I were to fight with him, I would only be able to win by a narrow margin. Yu Tian was already the ruler of this piece of land. He was basically invincible. Yet, he claimed that he did not have complete confidence in defeating a divine lord, and that he could only win by a narrow margin. Since when did the continent have so many geniuses? If these things don't shock you, I can tell you one more thing. Do you still remember that Zhu Qian's puppet technique shocked everyone in the world? Moreover, the reason we chased after him back then was also to obtain this puppet technique. Yu Tian threw down another heavy blow. Unfortunately, even Zhu Qian could only refine puppets without souls. It was normal for a puppet to have no soul. What Zhu Qian had been researching all these years was to give a puppet life. Unfortunately, he was unable to figure it out until his death. However, Yu Tian paused, then continued, "A few months ago, I fought with that girl. She had a puppet by her side. This puppet already possessed life and was no different from a normal person." Boom! Yu Tian's last sentence was like a heavy blow. The few old men's faces turned pale with fright. Chapter 21:33. That girl actually has such an ability? No, she must die. Otherwise, the threat she poses to us will far exceed that of Zhu Qian. The gray-robed elder, Kong Fengling, frowned as a murderous aura appeared in his eyes. Yu Tian, where is that girl now? The Seven Continents. Yu Tian gritted his teeth. I think that girl won't dare to leave the Seven Continents. Otherwise, we can kill her immediately. The Seven Continents. The green-robed elder, Wei Xiong, was stunned. Then he fell into deep thought. As the rulers of the Spirit God continent, it was impossible for them to leave the Spirit God continent. If they continued to wait, that loss would grow even faster. Everyone, I've asked all of you to come here because I've already thought of a way. Yu Tian smiled slightly as a sinister light flashed in his eyes. This girl is rather loyal. Back then, she killed her way into the Spirit God continent because the people of the Spirit God continent had captured her disciple's mother. If we attack the ancestral Dragon Clan, that girl will definitely appear. The ancestral Dragon Clan? The few old men were stunned for a moment, and then they all fell silent. I know that fighting the ancestral Dragon Clan is risky. After all, they are very powerful. However, we were able to drive them out of the humans' territory back then. That has already proved that we humans are far more powerful than the Dragon Clan. Yu Tian continued with a smile. Furthermore, if the four of us join forces, that old man from the ancestral Dragon Clan will not be our match. Wei Xiong frowned again. Back then, we only forced the ancestral Dragon Clan to leave. We did not kill them all because the five of us are the core of the Spirit God continent. None of us can be missing. If even one of us is missing, the Spirit God continent will immediately collapse. If it collapses, then so be it. Yu Tian's lips curled. We've already reached this realm. We can't make any more breakthroughs. As for the true gods, they are also legendary existences. If the Spirit God continent collapses, this space will cease to exist. The people of the Spirit God continent will only merge with the Seven Continents. They will not cause us any harm. When the others heard this, they did not say anything else. It was indeed as Yu Tian had said. They could not achieve anything. Since that was the case, why would they still guard the Spirit God continent? Of course, there was a reason why Yu Tian hadn't thought about leaving Spirit God continent. He only knew how to become the core of the formation, but he didn't know how to remove it. So, it was impossible for him to leave Spirit God Continent even if he wanted to. Alright, let's do that. Feng Yongqing immediately made a decision. We cannot let that girl continue to grow, otherwise, she will definitely endanger our existence. Only when she dies can we be at ease. But, if we use the ancestral dragon clan as a threat, will that girl really appear? Yu Tian sneered. I am just trying my luck. If she can appear, it would be for the best. If she does not appear, we will immediately kill that old man from Dragon Clan. At that time, the restrictions on our bodies will also be lifted, and it will be the same to go to the 7 continents. When Yu Tian finished speaking, no one said anything else. They had already tasted the difficulties that Zhu Qian had brought them. This time, they absolutely couldn't let the same thing happen again. Since that's the case, we'll set off for the Dragon Clan now. Kong Fengling was silent for a moment as he looked at the azure sky outside the door. We can't be blamed for this. Blame that lass for knowing Zhu Qian and growing so quickly. Chapter 21:34. At the same time in the 7 continents. The moment Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao appeared, they were discovered by the sharp-eyed Jun family members. Immediately, the Jun family servants scrambled to the Jun family to inform them. In an instant, the entire Jun family was in an uproar. Under Jun Lintian's lead, a group of people walked out. From afar, they saw a handsome man and a beautiful woman under the sun. The man was dressed in black and had a cold expression. Only when he looked at the woman next to him would he occasionally reveal a gentle gaze. He held a swaddle in his arms. The baby in the swaddle giggled from time to time. His delicate face was filled with a cute smile, and his big bright eyes were very clear. Yun Luofeng stood beside Yun Xiao. Her white clothes fluttered in the wind, and she was as beautiful as a celestial being in a painting. She was holding a little girl who was about 4 or 5 years old. This scene looked like a family of 4. It was so beautiful that no one could bear to destroy it. Feng you're finally back. Old Master Yun laughed out loud and quickly walked towards his granddaughter. When he saw the little baby in Yun Zhao's arms, his eyes lit up. This is my great-grandson? Good boy, let great-grandfather hug you. Little Nianfeng was not afraid of strangers. When he saw the old master's hand, he giggled and even opened his arms for a hug. Bai Ling and Jun Fengling walked over together, leaving Yi Jingchen behind with a face full of resentment. He looked at Bai Ling, who had seduced his wife, and felt very wronged. Ever since Bai Ling and Jun Fengling got to know each other, the in-laws had a feeling of regret for not getting to know each other earlier. As the daughter-in-law of the general's residence, Bai Ling was naturally attracted by Jun Fengling's valiant aura. Thus, the two of them were like sisters now. Even Yi Jingchen had to step aside. Feng this little girl is... Bai Ling looked at the little girl in Yun Luofeng's arms and asked curiously. Yun Chutian hid behind Yun Luofeng in fear. He looked at the strangers in front of him with a pair of timid eyes. He looked very timid. Tian don't be afraid. These are my family. Yun Luofeng could feel Yun Chutian's fear. She patted her little hand and comforted her. Mother, she's Yun Chutian. She's also my goddaughter. This little girl is cute and obedient. She's very likable. Jun Fengling chuckled. Perhaps she was afraid of scaring the little girl, so her voice became very gentle. Little Tian I'm your grandmother. Be good and bring her to me. Yun Chutian blinked and turned to look at Yun Luofeng, as if asking for her opinion. When she saw Yun Luofeng nod at her, she carefully left from behind Yun Luofeng and walked towards Bai Ling and Jun Fengling. She called out obediently, Grandmother. Good girl. Jun Fengling's eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. The word grandmother had really melted her bones. Little Tian I'm your maternal grandmother. Bai Ling also waved at Yun Chutian. Come here and let grandma see you. Yun Chutian blinked again and obediently walked toward Bai Ling. Her voice was soft, tender, and adorable. Grandmother. Ah. Bai Ling was very happy. Not only did Yun Luofeng bring back her own grandson, but she also adopted such a cute and obedient little girl. Little Yun, did you name the child? Jun Lintian had already arrived in front of Yun Luofeng. His smile was very bright, and his eyes were full of joy. Chapter 21:35. Yun Nianfeng. At the mention of her son's name, Yun Luofeng's gaze softened. Her gaze fell on the infant in the swaddling clothes, and her eyes shone with motherly love. Yun Nianfeng. Jun Lintian laughed. It's indeed a good name. Yun Nianfeng. Wasn't that the meaning of Yun Zhao's yearning for Yun Luofeng? TSK. This young couple's relationship is so good that it makes others envious. Grandfather. Yun Luofeng's gaze turned towards old man Yun. While I was away, did something happen in the 7 continents? Old Master Yun was startled. He glanced at Yun Luofeng and then told her about the recent happenings in the 7 continents. When she heard that the experts of the spirit god continent had come to the 7 continents to carry out a massacre, her expression immediately turned cold. Killing intent surged from her body. However, when old Master Yun told her about Hong Luan's return, a look of surprise appeared on her face, followed by boundless joy and excitement. Hong Luan has really returned from the netherworld? That's right, but Hong Luan has returned to East Continent Prefecture to attend to some matters, so she's not here. At this moment, Yun Luofeng's heart was filled with mixed feelings. That day, when she heard about Hong Luan's death, the rage in her heart was enough to burn the entire world. Who would have thought that Hong Luan would return? Hong Luan's corpse is still with me, and it has been preserved very well. With this corpse here, resurrecting Hong Luan will not be a problem. However, Yun Luofeng turned to Jun Lintian. Grandpa Jun, I'll have to trouble you to summon those from the Holy Maiden tribe and the Witch tribe back. The spirit god continent has gone too far. Yun Luofeng will not let them off so easily. If Yun Qingya hadn't broken through to Divine Lord, if Hong Luan and Jun Fengling had not returned, she did not dare to imagine what she would see when she arrived at Ling Continent. Fortunately, he had informed Speechless to seek help from the Dragon Clan no matter what happened. Because of this, the Jun family didn't suffer any casualties, of course. There were no casualties among those who came to the Ling Continent. However, the rest of the continent suffered heavy casualties. All right. Jun Lintian nodded solemnly. Now that Yun Luofeng had returned, it was time for them to exact their revenge on the spirit god continent. Within a few days, the news of Yun Luofeng's return spread throughout the 7 continents. Those forces that were on good terms with Yun Luofeng rushed over, intending to contribute to the invasion of the spirit god continent. Hong Luan and Yun Luofeng met again. Their expressions were somewhat sad. In the end, Yun Luofeng took 2 steps forward and gently hugged Hong Luan. Welcome back. Hong Luan's lips curled into an enchanting smile. I've spent my entire life chasing after your footsteps. Before I catch up to you, how could I possibly die? Hong Luan. Yun Luofeng released the woman in his arms and smiled. When I missed Feng, you weren't here. Now that the child has been born, why don't you become his godmother? I couldn't ask for more. Hong Luan hugged Yun Luofeng back, and the two looked at each other and smiled. Actually, Yun Luofeng's eyes flashed, and he suddenly said, Nangong Yuni isn't a bad person. Why don't you consider her? My Nianfeng can't only have a godmother without a godfather. Hong Luan's face flashed with embarrassment. Then the man's handsome face appeared in her mind, and she gently pursed her lips. That depends on his performance. Chapter 21:36. It was not that easy to become her husband. Yun Luofeng smiled and spoke to a nearby corner. Nangong, did you hear that? You have to perform well and become Nianfeng's godfather as soon as possible. Hong Luan's expression stiffened and she followed Yun Luofeng's gaze. Only then did she see a handsome figure walk out from the corner. Instantly, a crimson blush flashed across her beautiful face. Luan, I will perform well. Nangong Yuni's eyes shone brightly. I will strive to be promoted as soon as possible. Hong Luan angrily kicked Nangong Yuni's, but what do you mean by promoted? Do you even know how to speak? Nangong Yuni felt wronged. He rubbed his sore butt and said pitifully, I didn't say anything wrong. I want to be promoted as soon as possible and become Nianfeng's godfather. Hong Luan glared fiercely at Nangong Yuni. Dream on. After saying this, she turned around and walked forward. However, she could not help but caress her burning cheeks. Her footsteps were hurried, as if she was afraid of being discovered. It seems that your hard work has paid off. Yun Luofeng walked to Nangong Yuni's side and patted his shoulder. No matter what, I will support you. I also believe that you can bring happiness to Hong Luan. But suddenly Yun Luofeng's tone turned serious and he said solemnly, I will say the ugly things first. Although you are my old friend from 2 lives, if you dare to harm Hong Luan, I will not let you off. She has always been the one to bully me. When have I ever bullied her? Nangong Yuni pursed his lips. Even when Hong Luan bullied him, he had always been willing to endure it. Yun Luofeng smiled. After this battle is over, the 2 of you can have a good chat. I believe that Hong Luan has feelings for you. Nangong Yuni nodded solemnly. He thought of the upcoming battle and asked, Do you have confidence in this battle? No, but I must fight. Yun Luofeng raised his head slightly. I will not let anyone bully me and get away scot-free. Nangong Yuni's mood was very heavy. He fell silent for a while before looking at Yun Luofeng again. If you want to fight, I will risk my life to accompany you. Luan will definitely do the same. In this life, he only had 1 lover and 1 friend. For these 2 people, he would go through fire and water without hesitation. Yun Luofeng didn't say anything else. She patted Nangong Yuni's shoulder and said, Go find Hong Luan. Bring Hong Luan here tonight. I want to help her completely revive. Nangong Yuni did not say anything else. He turned around and chased after Hong Luan. Not long after, he saw Hong Luan waiting for him not too far away. Luan looking at the peerless woman in front of him, Nangong Yuni didn't know what to say for a moment. Actually, when I first found out that you were Yun Luofeng's friend, I had already forgiven you. Hong Luan glanced at Nangong Yuni and continued, I believe in Yun Luofeng's judgment. Naturally, I would not suspect anyone by her side. Hong Luan had absolute trust in Nangong Yuni. Even though Nangong Yuni was only her friend, she understood that what had happened that day was just a misunderstanding. Nangong Yuni, you probably know that since I'm friends with Yun Luofeng, our personalities are definitely similar. So, I definitely can't tolerate my man having other women. Can you do that? Chapter 21:37. Luan don't worry. I won't do anything to let you down. Nangong Yuni thought that Hong Luan did not believe him and quickly swore. The corners of Hong Luan's lips curled up. Good. I've already received your guarantee. I'm relieved. As for whether I can accept you or not, I still need to understand more. Perhaps it was her experiences since young that made her protect herself. She had not accepted Nangong Yuni for so long because she was afraid of being hurt again. Before she was sure that he would not hurt her, she would not allow herself to accept him completely. Nangong Yuni's eyes were filled with joy. I'll let you understand me however you want to understand me. Luan from the moment I saw you, I knew that you were the woman I wanted in this life. No matter how long it takes, I'm willing to follow behind you. As long as you don't give up, I won't leave you. Hong Luan raised her brows and glanced at Nangong Yuni once more before turning to walk out of the yard. Very soon, a figure appeared before Nangong Yuni's eyes. Nangong Yuni was so excited that he almost jumped up. He had never thought that Hong Luan would say something like this to him. Did this mean that she was slowly accepting him in her heart? Luan I won't let you down in this lifetime. I must perform well and strive to be promoted as soon as possible. Hong Luan's resurrection was simple. Yun Luofeng had prepared the medicinal herbs beforehand and placed her corpse in the medicinal herbs. When Hong Luan appeared at night, she could be resurrected immediately. Of course, when Hong Luan was resurrected, Yun Luofeng also asked her about her deceased father. In fact, Hong Luan knew Yun Luofeng's family very well. She had looked for Yun Yang's whereabouts after entering the underworld, but he did not exist in the entire underworld. When he heard the news, Yun Luofeng's hand paused and he sighed helplessly. Yun Yang was no longer in the underworld, which meant that he had completely disappeared. Bai Ling would not be able to handle this news, So Yun Luofeng had asked Hong Luan not to let Bai Ling know. Fortunately, Hong Luan knew this as well. Therefore, when Bai Ling had asked her that day, she had only brushed it off and did not pay attention. Hong Luan, it's about time. After a while, Yun Luofeng slowly stood up. Get up and move around a bit. See if you can adapt to your body. Hearing this, Hong Luan crawled out of the medicinal tub. She moved her shoulders a little and said, not really used to it. I'm used to the feeling of my soul floating. I really can't get used to this body. You'll be fine if you move around a little more. Yun Luofeng looked at Hong Luan and said with a smile, as long as it doesn't affect your powers, it proves that this resurrection was a success. After speaking, Hong Luan gently closed her eyes. After sensing the powerful energy in her body, she opened her eyes and a sense of shock flashed across her eyes. My current strength is actually the same as when I used my soul body? That's right. Yun Luofeng raised the corner of his lips and said with a faint smile, I added a spirit herb into the bathtub. It will allow your soul and body to completely merge. Your previous strength will not disappear. Hong Luan was overjoyed. What she was most afraid of was that the power she had obtained after experiencing countless life and death situations in the netherworld would disappear after her resurrection. Now that she saw that her power was still there, she was completely relieved. Chapter 21:38. Feng Er. At this moment, Yun Qingya's voice came from outside the door. Someone from the Ancestral Dragon Clan is here. He said he wants to see you. Ancestral Dragon Clan? Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. All right, have it wait in the hall. I'll be there shortly. At this moment, in the hall, a young man dressed in green robes was anxiously pacing back and forth. His eyes were filled with anxiety. Suddenly, he caught a glimpse of Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao, who were walking towards him under the moonlight. A light flashed through his eyes. This lady is most likely Lady Yun. Yun Luofeng's gaze fell on the azure-robed man. You came all the way from the spirit god continent. What business do you have with me? It's like this. The green-robed man's face was a little pale. Yu Tian and a few other old fellows have attacked our ancestral dragon clan and imprisoned our clan leader. He said that he wants Miss Yun to see him, otherwise he will kill our clan leader. The people of the ancestral dragon clan had always been honest, so they naturally wouldn't lie to Yun Luofeng. Instead, they spoke the truth. As for Yun Luofeng's choice, that was her own business. Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao looked at each other, neither of them saying anything. After a long while, she finally turned her gaze towards the green-robed man, her expression slowly darkening. I understand. Yu Tian couldn't come to the Seven Continents continent to deal with me, so he used the Ancestral Dragon Clan to force me out. However, even if he didn't use the Ancestral Dragon Clan as a threat, I still planned to go to the Spirit God continent to settle the score with him. She narrowed her eyes and a cold glint flashed across her eyes. Go back to the Ancestral Dragon Clan first. I'll come over after making some preparations. Thank you, Miss Yun. The green-robed man's expression was filled with gratitude. He cupped his fists and walked towards the door. Long Luo had been by Yun Luofeng's side ever since she got to know him. Now she, who was playing around with the little worm in the divine grimoire space, also heard the commotion outside and immediately appeared before Yun Luofeng. Her face was filled with anxiety. Before she could finish her sentence, she was interrupted by Yun Luofeng. You don't have to worry. Since the Ancestral Dragon Clan has sent people to help the Jun family, I will definitely not sit idly by. We'll prepare tonight and set off tomorrow. Yun Luofeng comforted Long Luo. Then, he ordered everyone to gather at the Jun residence the next morning. After she gave her instructions, she went down to rest with Yun Xiao. Night fell. The moonlight was like water. The door to the room was pushed open by a small hand. Yun Luofeng, who was about to take off her clothes and sleep with Yun Xiao, immediately turned her head to look. Under the cold moonlight, she saw a little lowly who looked like she was carved out of jade walking towards her. Tian, what is it? Yun Luofeng got up from the bed and walked towards Yun Chutian. She bent down with a gentle expression and rubbed Yun Chutian's head. Mother! Yun Chutian hooked his arm around Yun Luofeng's neck an innocent and bright smile on his little face. Tianer has something to give mother. You'll definitely like it. After saying this, Yun Chutian tiptoed and planted a kiss on Yun Luofeng's forehead. Boom! At this moment, Yun Luofeng felt as if her head was being pricked by a needle. A powerful force directly rushed into her mind and filled her body with strength. After Yun Luofeng felt this force, she hurriedly sat down cross-legged. At the same time, lightning appeared above her head. Chapter 2139. Boom, boom, boom. Intense thunder rumbled. Yun Luofeng had already released his azure wings while he was sitting down. He immediately leapt up and rushed above Yun Luofeng's head, blocking the rumbling thunder that came crashing down. This time, the heavenly lightning was fiercer than anyone else's breakthrough. This was also the first time everyone saw Yun Luofeng's breakthrough. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it was the end of the world. The lightning tribulation lasted for an entire night before gradually fading away. The next day, when Yun Luofeng opened her eyes and felt the endless power in her body, she couldn't help but stand up and stretch her legs. She asked, Tianer, how much of this power do you have left? Yun Chutian blinked and shook his head. No more. I've given it all to Mother. Mother, can you bring Tianer to battle with you? Tianer can definitely help Mother. At this moment, Yun Xiao had already walked to Yun Luofeng's side. After hearing Yun Chutian's words, the two of them looked at each other. Mother! Yun Chutian was afraid that Yun Luofeng would reject him, so he hurriedly held her hand and said pitifully, although Tianer doesn't remember anything, Tianer won't be a burden to Mother. Yun Luofeng pondered for a moment. She originally wanted to reject Yun Chutian, but then she remembered that Yun Chutian was given to her by Zhu Qian, so he definitely wasn't simple. Thus, she gently nodded. All right, then let's go together. Yun Chutian smiled. Her smile was even brighter than the sun. She rushed into Yun Luofeng's arms and hugged her waist tightly. Mother, Tianer likes you the most. Under the morning sun, Yun Chutian's little face was flushed. Her eyes were as bright as the stars in the night sky, shining with a dazzling radiance. Yun Luofeng lowered her head and looked at the petite and cute little girl in her arms. A smile also appeared on her face. If she could predict what would happen next, perhaps she would regret bringing this girl to the spirit god continent. Unfortunately, Yun Luofeng didn't know anything. Spirit god continent, the ancestral dragon clan. Below the dragon altar, the members of the ancestral dragon clan were all tied to the pillars. All of them glared at the attacking human cultivators with furious eyes. Yu Tian and the other three stood at the very front of the humans and looked down at the group of furious dragons. Their lips curled into a mocking smile. You better pray for that woman, Yun Luofeng, to hurry over. Otherwise, your ancestral dragon clan will be completely annihilated. Yu Tian smiled faintly. His white robes fluttered in the wind, and his sage-like appearance was hateful no matter how one looked at it. Long Yan's roar was filled with anger. Yu Tian, Feng Yongqing, Kong Fengling, Wei Xiang, if you dare to kill our ancestral dragon clan, I, Long Yan, will not let you off even if I become a ghost. Become a ghost? Ha ha ha. Feng Yongqing laughed. That's if you have the chance to become a ghost. Just now, we had already prepared our soul fires. Once these flames appear, your souls will scatter, never to be reincarnated. Feng Yongqing gritted his teeth as he said the last few words. His gaze became sharper as he stared coldly at the group of ancestral dragons tied to the pillars. Fear flashed across Long Yan's eyes, but he didn't show it on his face. His hands were clenched tightly by his sides, and his entire body was trembling. He was clearly infuriated. I will give Yun Luofeng one more day. If she doesn't come by today, I will kill a citizen of the Dragon Clan. Chapter 2140. Long Yan's anger surged. Unfortunately, the difference in power was too great, causing the Dragon Clan to be forced into such a passive situation. Yu Tian, back then, the Dragon Clan had already left the human mainland and was forced into this corner. Why are you still unwilling to let us go? Long Yan's heart was very heavy and he could not suppress his pain. These damned humans. They were really going too far. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for helping Yun Luofeng. Therefore, you reap what you sow today. The corners of Yu Tian's lips curled into a slight angle. His brows were calm and his words were completely emotionless. It was as if he was talking about something unimportant. Long Yen simply closed his eyes and did not want to waste any more time talking to them. Apart from him, the rest of the Dragon Clan's citizens all looked terrified and their eyes were filled with panic. Time was racing against time. Soon, the deadline given by Yu Tian had arrived. Seeing that Yun Luofeng had yet to appear, Yu Tian's gaze swept across the area and landed on a young dragon who had yet to reach adulthood. Bring that child to me. The young dragon was a little boy. In human terms, he should only be around 3 or 4 years old. He was still at an ignorant age. When he saw the group of humans walking towards him, the little boy burst into tears. Mother, save me, save me. Even though he was still young, he knew why these people had come to capture him. Instantly, he flailed his limbs in panic, and tears covered his adorable little face. No! A woman who was tied up next to the little boy cried out in panic. She wailed at the top of her lungs, "Don't touch my child! If you want to kill me, kill me! Don't kill my child! I beg you, my child is still young. Please let him go." However, in the face of the little boy's cries and the woman's pleas, the humans were indifferent. It was as if in their eyes, this little boy was no different from a chicken or duck waiting to be slaughtered. In the end, the little boy was brought in front of Yu Tian. His large eyes were filled with terror and his little body trembled uncontrollably. "Kid, you're going to die." Feng Yongqing took 2 steps forward and grabbed the little boy's collar, dragging him in front of him. "However, you must remember that the person who caused your death was not me. It was Yun Luofeng." Hua! By the time he had finished speaking, Feng Yongqing had already unsheathed his long sword. The light from the sword flickered with a piercingly cold light, contrasting with the little boy's panicked expression, making him look even more cold and merciless. "Enough!" Long Yen suddenly opened his eyes and a cold light burst out from his eyes. "I am second only to the clan leader of the Dragon Clan. If you want to kill, it's better to kill me. Don't touch the children of our Dragon Clan." "Kill you?" Feng Yongqing coldly laughed and said disdainfully, "Don't worry, you will die sooner or later. However, you won't be afraid in the face of death. I don't like killing without fear. On the contrary, I like this little guy's expression very much." He carefully observed the fear on the little boy's face, and the smile on his lips grew wider. At this moment, because of the intense fear in his heart, the little boy was unable to cry. He opened his eyes wide and looked at the demon-like Feng Yongqing. Long Yan's body trembled. In the end, he closed his eyes helplessly, not daring to watch this cruel scene. However, the hatred in his heart was even more intense, as if there was a raging flame burning his heart. Chapter 2141. I'll count to 3. If Yun Luofeng doesn't appear, I'll make this Dragon Clan child bleed on the spot. Feng Yongqing raised the longsword in his hand. His expression was cold and grim as his sharp gaze fell upon the pale little face in front of him. There was no sympathy in his heart. 1, 2, 3. He counted very slowly, but it was like a hammer smashing down fiercely. The child's mother cried even more heart-wrenchingly as she struggled to break free from the ropes binding her. The despair in her eyes would break anyone's heart. "There's no need to wait. Kill him." Yu Tian swept his cold gaze across and spoke indifferently. "It's just a dragon. To humans, what's the difference between that and an animal?" Feng Yongqing did not waste any more words. The long sword in his hand slashed down from the sky towards the little boy's head. The little boy forgot to cry. His face was in a daze as if the entire world had stopped at that moment. His mother fainted immediately. The other clansmen could not bear to watch and closed their eyes. However, it was undeniable that their bodies were trembling violently. This trembling wasn't caused by fear, but by rage. As long as they were given the chance, they would definitely make these humans who had come to the Dragon Clan die a horrible death. Clang! Suddenly, Feng Yongqing's sword seemed to have received a heavy blow, causing his sword to slow down for a moment. It was also at this moment that a figure in a black robe streaked across the sky, charging towards Feng Yongqing with a loud bang. Feng Yongqing gently narrowed his eyes in the face of this sudden attack. He did not retreat. Instead, he took 2 steps forward as the corners of his lips curled into a sinister angle. Boom! A powerful force spread from the 2 of them. A strong wind rose and lifted the man's black robes, making his expression appear even colder. At the same time, the little boy, who had been in danger, was pulled over by an arm and fell into a warm embrace. The joy of survival left the little boy dazed for a moment before he burst into tears. He cried as he left the woman in white's embrace and ran towards his mother, who was still tied to the pillar. The child's mother heard his sobs and slowly woke up. When she saw that the little boy was still in one piece, she could not help but burst into tears. "You guys are finally here." Yutian looked at Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao, who were standing in front of him. There was a faint hint of arrogance between his brows. "I had thought that you would be too afraid to come to the Dragon Clan. I never thought that you would really come." When Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao appeared, the other experts of the 7 continents also rushed over under the leadership of Hong Luan and Yun Qingya. Those people ignored Yutian and the others and hurriedly rescued the ancestral dragons that were tied up. "Uncle Long Yen." Long Luo quickened her steps and asked with tears in her eyes, "Do you know where my father is?" "Eldest miss, you shouldn't have come back." Long Yen sighed. "Although your father is not here now, his life is not in danger. You can rest assured." So what if Yun Luofeng was strong? How could they deal with Yutian and the others? Their return was tantamount to sending them to their deaths. Long Yen stopped talking. "I'll get someone to save you first." Tears welled up in Long Luo's eyes. The rope that bound the ancestral dragon was made of a special material. This rope could restrain the power of the ancestral dragon clan, making it impossible for them to break free. Chapter 2142. No need. Yun Luofeng wiped the blood from the corner of her lips and curled her lips. "All these years, I, Yun Luofeng, have encountered many enemies, but I've never failed. It's the same this time." She raised her eyes and her gaze was determined. Her white robes fluttered in the wind and she was as beautiful as a painting. "Mother." Yun Chutian stood at the side and clenched his little fists tightly. His large, bright eyes were filled with worry as he stared unblinkingly at Yun Luofeng. Very soon, Yun Luofeng and Yutian were fighting in the sky again. The crowd could only see the clashing figures in the sky but could not completely capture their movements. "Stop!" Suddenly, an angry voice rang out from the side. This voice made the people in the sky stop. Yutian and the others in particular, their eyes were clearly filled with impatience. With Long Luo's support, the elder slowly walked over. Perhaps he had yet to recover from his serious injuries. His elderly face was still rather pale, but his steps were firm. "The 4 of you have come to the ancestral dragon clan to cause trouble and even want to kill people in my territory?" Yutian laughed mockingly. "I haven't killed you yet because I wanted to use you to lure Yun Luofeng here. Since she's already here, there's no need for you to exist. Don't worry. After I've killed Yun Luofeng and the others, I'll bury the entire dragon clan with them." The clan leader's face was ashen with anger and he flung his sleeves angrily. When he saw little Worm standing in the crowd, he wanted to say something but hesitated and did not say anything in the end. "Miss Yun, this time, the dragon clan has dragged you down. I won't let this matter rest so easily. Even if I have to fight to the death with these people, I won't retreat." He turned his gaze towards the people in the sky and his elderly face was filled with determination. "No." Yun Luofeng shook her head. "These people used the dragon clan as a hostage to force me to appear. More accurately speaking, I'm the one who's dragged you down. Indeed, if it had not been for her, perhaps Yutian would not have acted against the dragon clan. This was also why she had rushed over." "Tisk!" Wei Xiang laughed disdainfully. "It's useless even if you say so much. Everyone here today must die." Boom! The aura from his body spread out, making the weaker people feel as if they were unable to lift their heads. Humph! The clan leader flung his sleeves and flew into the void in a flash. He placed his hands behind his back and said with a cold expression, "Young Master Yun Xiao, I'm surprised by your strength. I wonder if I can join forces with you to deal with these three people?" Yun Xiao's strength was even greater than what he had seen on Spirit God Continent. Even though he was still at the Divine Lord realm, there were similarly strong and weak within the Divine Lord realm. However, even so, what Yun Xiao was facing wasn't just one ruler, but three. If the two of them worked together, perhaps there was still hope for victory. "Even if you join forces, what can you do?" Wei Xiong sneered disdainfully. The smile on his lips was filled with disdain, clearly not taking the Dragon Clan leader seriously at all. For a moment, the three of them took a step forward and surrounded the two from three directions. Yun Qingya and the others heaved a sigh of relief when they saw that the Dragon Clan leader had joined them. They focused on dealing with the enemies in front of them. The other members of the ancestral Dragon Clan also joined the battle. Hence, the originally one-sided Spirit God Continent cultivators were clearly being suppressed. Chapter 2143. In the void, smoke rose again. Yun Luofeng retracted his gaze from Yun Zhao's body. Facing Yu Tian's sudden attack, he dodged to the side and circled around to his back. But before the long sword had even appeared, Yu Tian had already reacted and raised his weapon to block. After a clear clang, Yun Luofeng felt her palm go numb. She forcibly suppressed the numbness, and her face remained expressionless. Below, Yun Chutian clenched her fists tighter and the worry in her eyes grew stronger. She bit her lips tightly and her face was flushed as if it was carved from jade. She looked adorable. "Mother." Her gaze followed Yun Luofeng and did not move away for even a moment. Tears almost flowed out of her eyes and her expression grew anxious. Little brother said that he wanted Tian to protect mother. But what should Tian do to help mother? Of course, Yun Luofeng, who was fighting with Yu Tian, did not feel Yun Chutian's emotions. Ever since the clan leader joined the battle, she had placed all her attention on the battle with Yu Tian. The dragon scale armor's time limit is almost up. I can't drag this on any longer. Yun Luofeng's eyes gradually grew heavy. She gripped her long sword tightly in her hand and gently closed her eyes. After a long while, she suddenly opened her eyes and looked at Yun Xiao, who was next to her. At this moment, Yun Xiao also turned her head to look at her. The moment their eyes met, Yun Xiao understood what she meant and nodded at her. Yun Luofeng withdrew her gaze when she saw this, and then a wisp of a smile arose on the corners of her mouth. Her figure flashed and immediately charged towards Yu Tian. It was even to the extent that she didn't take any precautions at all, and she merely converged all her strength onto the sword in her hand. "You're overestimating yourself." Yu Tian laughed mockingly and indifferently faced Yun Luofeng's attack. Boom! The two swords collided in the air and sparks shot out in all directions. Just as Yu Tian was about to laugh out loud, he did not notice that a cold figure had leapt up from behind him and fiercely slapped his head with a palm. Boom! In an instant, Yu Tian's body trembled. Blood flowed from his 7 apertures, and his eyes widened in astonishment. His gaze was filled with shock and disbelief. Feng Yongqing and the rest were also stunned. Just now, they had only cared about killing the Dragon Clan leader and hadn't noticed Yun Xiao heading towards Yu Tian. By the time they noticed Yun Xiao's movements, it was already too late. Before they could even cry out in alarm, they saw Yu Tian fall from the sky, head first to the ground. A deep pit was formed in the ground. "I've dealt with one first." Yun Luofeng wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth, the smile on his face growing. "Now there are only 3 left." Boom! Rumble! Suddenly, the ground beneath Yun Luofeng's feet began to move. When she looked down, she discovered that the ground was rapidly splitting apart. "What's going on?" She frowned and asked coldly. The patriarch was the first to react. "The Spirit God Continent exists with the 5 of us acting as the heart of the spell formation. If even one of us is lost, the Spirit God Continent will cease to exist. So, from today onwards, the Spirit God Continent will no longer exist." As the patriarch finished speaking, the cracking of the ground increased in speed. Even the sky had cracked open. Feng Yongqing and the rest were not in the mood to fight. Their expressions were grave as they stared at Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao with murderous intent. Chapter 21:44. Mother! Yun Chutian's frightened voice came from below. Yun Luofeng couldn't care less. She quickly rushed down and pulled Yun Chutian into her arms. She could feel the trembling body of the little girl in her arms and hurriedly comforted. "It's okay, Tianer. Mother is here, you don't have to be afraid." It seemed that Yun Luofeng's warm embrace made Yun Chutian feel at ease. She curled up in the woman's arms and buried her head in her chest. Yun Xiao also walked down from the void and hugged Yun Luofeng. His cold eyes were filled with gentleness. But this kind of gentleness would only appear where Yun Luofeng was. "Fenger, we're going home." After he said that, Yun Luofeng clearly heard the sound of space cracking, as if the end of the world had arrived. After a long time, they fell from the sky. The disappearance of the spirit god continent did not mean that the people inside were obliterated. It was just that everything in the spirit god continent, including the houses and land, had all disappeared. After a long time, Yun Luofeng was finally able to adapt to the sunlight in front of her. She slowly opened her eyes and released the little girl in her arms. "Tianer, it's okay." Yun Chutian's body trembled. Her body was still firmly stuck to Yun Luofeng as she carefully looked around. "Mother, what is this place?" Yun Luofeng looked down at Yun Chutian and said gently, "This is the Seven Continents continent." At this moment, the others also reacted. The people brought by the ancestral dragon clan and the few leaders were fine, but the original residents of the spirit god continent did not know what had happened, and their eyes were filled with fear. Therefore, the entire city was filled with the sounds of those people wailing like ghosts and howling like wolves. "Wu Yan!" Suddenly, a startled voice came from the front, instantly attracting Chang Wuyan's attention. Chang Wuyan, who was originally standing beside Yun Qingya and the others, turned his head and saw a familiar figure. The corners of his lips curled up slightly. What a coincidence! Was this considered enemies on a narrow road? Chang Wuyan never thought that he would actually see Chang Gaoya here. It seemed like she was not far from the ancestral dragon clan at that time. Otherwise, she would not have fallen into the same place so coincidentally. A hint of coldness flashed across Chang Gaoya's eyes. She said arrogantly, "Chang Wuyan, you little bastard. Why are you here?" When Yun Luofeng saw Chang Gaoya, he recognized her. But she looked at Chang Wuyan suspiciously and raised her eyebrows. "Didn't I ask you to go back and settle the Chang family's matter? Why is this woman still alive and kicking here?" "This?" Chang Wuyan scratched his head. "When I returned to the Chang family, they were already empty. I don't know where they moved to. I've been looking for them for months, but before I could find them, I happened to find out that someone was besieging the 7 continents." Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows and looked at Chang Gaoya. She then looked at Feng Yongqing and the others, who had ugly expressions on their faces. She did not speak. She did not intend to intervene in Chang Wuyan's matter. Moreover, the most important thing for her now was to deal with these 3 old men. Perhaps Yu Tian's death had agitated these old men, but they did not make a move for a long time. They only glared at Yun Luofeng and the others with angry eyes. Chapter 21:45. Long Luo. Chang Gaoya was about to continue insulting Chang Wuyan when she suddenly noticed Long Luo standing next to the clan leader. Her eyes widened immediately. She did not know that the people of the ancestral dragon clan were here, so she snorted fearlessly, "You damned girl, how dare you show yourself? You ran away from my Chang family that day. Now that you've fallen into my hands, let's see who can protect you." What happened in the Chang family that year was Long Luo's lifelong nightmare. Now that she saw Chang Gaoya, fear rose in her heart, and she hurriedly hid behind the clan leader. The clan leader frowned. From the conversation between Chang Gaoya and Chang Wuyan, he could vaguely guess this woman's identity. At that moment, anger surged in his eyes, and a murderous intent shot out. A cold glint flashed in Chang Gaoya's eyes. She turned to look at the old man who was shielding Long Luo, and her lips curled into a sarcastic smile. So, the person who took Long Luo away that day was you. I didn't expect you to be so interested in such things at your age. You're actually interested in a little girl. However, I still advise you to return Long Luo to me. Otherwise, you'll definitely offend the Chung family. The clan leader's brows furrowed even more, and he clenched his fists tightly by his sides. He sensed the fear in Long Luo's heart and raised his hand to comfort her little head. He then looked at Chung Gaoya with a murderous gaze. Seeing that the old man ignored her words, Chung Gaoya frowned slightly. Can't you hear what I said to you? This little girl is my slave. You have no right to take her away. Oh, the clan leader finally spoke. His old voice was dignified, and his gaze was cold. I don't know. When did my daughter become your slave? Daughter? Chung Gaoya was stunned. This old man was Long Luo's father? In other words, she was also the ancestral dragon? However, Chung Gaoya quickly regained her senses. So what if you're Long Luo's father? No matter what, I'll take her away. Humph! The clan leader snorted coldly, and a biting cold aura exuded from his body. I'm afraid you don't have the right to make the eldest lady of the Dragon Clan your slave. The eldest daughter of the Dragon Clan? Chung Gaoya, who had been nonchalant at first, suddenly heard the clan leader's words. Her body trembled and her eyes widened. You said she's the eldest daughter of the Dragon Clan? Impossible, I asked Long Luo at that time. She said she was just an ordinary ancestral dragon. Back then, Chung Gaoya knew that the eldest daughter of the Dragon Clan had gone missing. She had also met Long Luo at that time, so she had taken the initiative to ask about Long Luo's identity. At that time, Long Luo denied her identity as the young mistress. Long Luo stepped out from behind the chief leader and bit her lip. At that time, I thought my father was going to marry me off to a bastard. That's why I didn't dare to reveal my identity. I was afraid that you would send me back to the Dragon Clan. After getting Long Luo's acknowledgement, Chung Gaoya's body trembled. The arrogant arrogance from before instantly disappeared, and her entire face turned pale. You lied to me, you actually lied to me. If she had known Long Luo's true identity, she would never have done such a thing. Long Luo looked a little sorrowful. How can you say that I lied to you? I was too stupid. I thought that you would be grateful to me for saving you. Who would have thought that you would actually lock me up and force me to spit out my blood essence? If I had not met Lady Yun, perhaps, I would have been tortured to death by you.